Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to APM Research Live. On the panel today is One Conscience and Jimbo and myself. Today's research and updates is going to be about the ether, electronics, and a few other things. So what we'll do is wait 5 or 10 minutes, let people come in, and then we're going to play a video that Roy released today, which is relative to the research we do. And hopefully between us all, we can figure a few more things out. So welcome you guys on the panel.
Hello and good evening.
Hey.
And hello everyone in the chat.
Hey, chat.
Hello, chat people.
We love interacting with the chatters because they ask very relevant questions. So we'll just take 5 or 10 minutes and let people arrive. And if any people in the chat's got any questions on the previous live stream or any other parts of our research, by all means, put them forward now. And we'll just sit here for 5 minutes and interact. Question for you there, one. From Monique. So anyway, hello Monique. Hello, who else is here? Too sure that I can't pronounce that name. VN, James Green, Jamie Robbins. Good afternoon and good evening and even good morning. Emily. Stasiosa. Welcome to APM Research. I'll put some nice graphics on in the background, I think, while we await people arriving. Keep that muted. I'll play this video from the beginning and just leave it muted so we got some nice visuals in the background. Hello, Nightbot. Nightbot made it. Hello, Tanya. Luca. I think the chat in StreamYard's a bit slower than the chat, the live stream chat. Good evening, Wizard Khalifa. Wait, what? Hello. Indeed. Yeah, we're just waiting for 5 minutes, people, and interacting with you guys before we start going into the presentations and such. And any questions of anyone from last week's stream or anything, by all means, put them forward now. Hello, Jamie. Any info on tech being in the heavens as well? If you watched last week's stream, you'll see a breakdown of the monad, the dyad, and the demiurge. The demiurge is the tech in the atmosphere, and you'll get to see a halo. You'll actually see it in this video that's playing now in the background if you keep watching. It's near the end of here, one of the a daytime capture of a halo by 1111 code. Yes, we're doing the streaming, Tanya. The only time we can't do it is if something goes wrong, like a couple of weeks ago when my internet got wiped out. Yeah, I watched that one last week, Jamie, and you'll see the demiurge and understand what it actually refers to. Question from Luca. Do you want to answer that one, Juan?
Is it possible to be in the lava tube and not realize they have no made by the push of fire? Oh, have not been made by the push of fire. Um, I mean, to me, and when we all looked at them and stuff, you know, they appear to have been, cleansed in some way. To me, I would say, thinking about lava and how it hardens, that stuff, there'd be remnants of it in these lava tubes, but there's not. So it seems impossible to me that the lava just comes and spews out and there's nothing left behind, and those grooves that are in the sides and stuff, you know just seem like it's some kind of a cleansing mechanism or something that comes through and cleanses all the remnants out. They look constructed to me in some way. Now, I've not been in one in real life, so I can't say for sure what they actually look like in real life. But all the pictures I've seen of them, they just have those weird, grooves in the sides.
And when you look at the design of them, we have covered that before. On the design of them, it's designed to compress and expand when you look at those chambers, and also spiral. So the lava is going through these tubes, being compressed and expanded out the other side and spiraling as it's moving. So this is by design. We're not sure what's creating the spiral. Is it something, a force behind it? Is something pushing it out? We don't know, because no one seems to have footage venturing deep inside these lava tubes. That they go on for miles, and obviously they collapsed and all kinds of things go wrong, or they flooded.
Right. And then, like when I did the Skinwalker Ranch, so, and it just their placement alone also, because they're set up kind of like the accelerators. So, like when I did Skinwalker Ranch, the Wawa Springs, the old ancient volcano, is at the placement where the Alice bit is on the CERN reactor. So that tells me that it has a cleansing cycle. It's a process.
While we're on volcanoes, if you look at the video on screen now, this is Glastonbury Tor. But what the volcano is basically formed is, if you look at this tor, you're going to have a halo one side of it encircling it, and another one on the opposite side encircling it. So where the two overlap is where the tor is. It's inside these two circles, a very special place to be. So that's what this representation on screen is. And that tower there, if you look at the decode of it, it's it shows you the octaves that's in play. That's designed to show you the octaves, like in Walter Russell's work. Very clever stuff, and these people have known all along what it represents. It's all technology based. Nuclear fusion is the correct terminology for it in modern times. I'm not sure what they called it in ancient times, but we would call that today nuclear fusion. It's a reactor, and it's no different to Walter Russell's motor, the technology that's doing it. This is the heart of the angels. This is their power plant.
So it's funny that you would say that because um, I have this picture here of two accelerators that I've mapped, and the place in the middle is Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to the north
Hence,
of it slightly, but right in the middle of these two, and there's two known volcanoes in Berlin.
interesting.
So
All these world capitals get called a capital for a reason. It's a very special place to be in the center of these two halos. If you look
yeah.
at the sun halo, it operates the same. It's this technology, it's how it operates. So yeah, it's the Vesica Pisces. That's what's special about the Vesica Pisces. It's positives, negatives, and what's in the center, depending on the configuration and scale, will create various types of matter.
Let me answer this for Jamie. So yeah, they are vents of some sorts because we also showed all of the accelerators. I did that presentation quite a while back, but mapping all the accelerators that are known in the world, and outside of the clusters of these accelerators, there's these volcanoes that also let off lightning from the ground.
And on the lava, by the way, lava, how is lava produced? People must be thinking, well, it's this technology that produces it. It converts elements into matter. This matter is what we're calling lava. So it's been produced by the angels as matter, and it's been ejected down these lava tubes in some process. We can't see what the process is, but that's clearly what's going on. If you look at the technology, it does have a cleaning cycle. This is, if you go back to the Egyptian 12 Greats story that One Conscience read through, there was one called there. I won't say the name of it, and it was that bad one didn't want to read it out because, they were desecrating it by associating it with certain words. So you don't go there, trying to put you off looking there, obviously. But, it was basically referencing a cleaning cycle. And this cleaning cycle is this manifested matter that's coming from this technology. It has to have a cleaning cycle because it is converting elements into matter. This is how it works. It's compressed into existence. This is how this technology works. So that's where lava is. Now, I would call it nuclear lava because it's this technology created it. And like we keep saying, like with Walter Russell's mortar, the Rome Colosseum, the Egyptian pyramid, these were all power stations that utilized this technology, just using compressed air and water. So it's manipulating let's call them light entities. Some people call them atoms, some people call them particles. Walter Russell calls it light. Some people call it God. God is light. So this matter, this entity in the ether and in water is what's being manipulated and being compressed into existence and creating light. This is what the Creator is trying to teach you with this science and knowledge. They've always been teaching us this. Our ancients, you study the ancients and their glyphs and the stories. We've always been taught this science. It's just been worded differently, and in their times, they had different words for this. They probably couldn't explain this technology very well. Even in our time, we're struggling because it's all new to us. But this is what we're good at. We're good at looking at what science is putting out there. One Conscience will go down and dismantle that and give you the APM take on that, and we can show you in nature this taking place. So it just it's mind-boggling.
Tanya asked, what are the functions of the world chakras?
The world chakras appear to be wave guides. They're guiding our Milky Way's wave. So it's coming. If you look at Tesla vortex maps, that actually relates to the vortex this technology is creating. It's like Jimbo referenced years ago. It's like looking at an oscilloscope. Well, in 2D on an oscilloscope, you're looking at a sine wave, which in 3D is actually a spiral. This is what we decoded as the Milky Way, and it's alternating current. And this is Tesla's vortex maths is obviously designed to figure out how to harness this alternating current. Jimbo will probably go a bit deeper on some of that later on when we get to it. He's more technical on that than I am, but I'm just giving you my breakdown of things I decode, and then I look at people like Jimbo to probably give it the better terminology of what's taking place, because I don't know the terminology of that process at that time. So this is how the team works. This is how we work together. Hello, Roy. Roy's in the chat. Excellent timing, Roy, because we are going to play some of your work tonight, mate, and add a few more things to it at the end. So.
And then one more thing with the volcano and the lightning. So it would only make sense that it comes from, above, downward, and from below, upward, being that the halos would be up and downward. It's that electric connection between them.
Yeah, in Walter Russell's terminology, you've got the halo below, the physical halo below, which is creating induction. It's a giant induction coil, which is switching polarities and putting a spiral into the atmosphere. And when you add the smaller halo to it, which is electric, this is electromagnetism. This causes the demiurge to be projected into the sky and have a reversed flow down. So this is nature's duality, people. If you look at last week's decode of it, you'll see this is how nature works. So, it makes more and more sense, doesn't it? Right, should we continue and play Roy's video for the people? It's a long video, people, so, you know, enjoy it. I'll give you a link to, before we start, I'll give you a link to Roy's channel, because you should subscribe, Roy. He's doing fantastic videos on and research. And he's just like us, you know, trying to figure things out. So I'll put Roy's channel in the chat here before I start playing it. Roy is, his channel's called St. Vincent. There's a link to it there, guys. So you can have a look at Roy's experiments, and, you know, hopefully between us all, we're going to figure some nice things out. Are we still far to build a palm-sized Walter Russell motor? Yeah, you know, if Roy wants to look into Walter Russell's motor, which is a fusion reactor, by all means look into it, Roy. We can give you some very good guidance on the construction of one of those. Anyway, let's get, I'll stop sharing this and we'll get Roy's video on, and then we can get down to business. So guys on the panel, just mute your microphones for a bit and we'll let Roy's video play. It is 55 minutes, so you guys are going to have a little break. Right, here we go. We want you to watch this because it is relevant to some work we're doing, and like I said, between Roy and other channel we're going to bring into this, and information we're finding out and can provide, you know, we might see some good things happening here, people. Here you go. This is a video Roy put out earlier today, sound waves and magnetic waves in space through propagation.
Hello, my fellow YouTubers. This is Roy back again. What a crazy day for me today. You know why? I haven't been doing anything with my creative side of the physics, should I say. And with that being said, I got juices. I got crazy physics juices. You know what? Had to do with me working on my music and working on the equalizer and looking at the sound waves. And we're going to get into that. But right now, I got the creative juices back. And it's crazy because it's really about processing how the space in front of you, the air, we would call eyesight, I guess. So when you look out of your eyeballs, and anything within eyesight is space. And the difference between outer space and this space, well, we live in a bubble like SpongeBob. When I say like SpongeBob, I really mean SpongeBob. We live in our own little bubble. So with that being said, that means the outer space we think is out there, that we're inside here and it's different. Well, it is, but ether is still here and it's out there. And it's the controlling dominant feature here in this conversation. Here's my boy, Hedley Scallon. What is he showing us right here? Well, we're going to get back into this because it is the best since Maxwell. And it's really about not exactly what this gentleman was teaching us, Hedley Scallon. is the fact that he pulled us into it, and which is what happened to me. I got pulled into this coral castle, didn't know anything about electricity. And I know. I got so pulled in. And then it was a rabbit hole. Basically, I got into, oh, geez, look, there's nothing here. Just the shaft at the bottom. I got into it, and he got me into electromagnetic and everything. We're going to back up from Ed Lee Scallon and my puppy over there. And we're going to come over here, which this is my Bendini wheel. Ed had 10 different machines. When he passed away, this is what's in Coral Castle. My replica. 100% replica. Into the insulation that's in between the metal on the magnets to keep the magnets separate from the metals. So the metals are free to consume, contract, and expand. And we're going to get into that in a second. So we get back over here. You got Bendini. Now on Ed's wheel, all these magnets are north-south, north-south. There we go here. So you can see the yellow highlighted are south and the knot is north. Okay, so over here, you got solid north. Okay, the reason these are all north, here you have a laminated core here. Okay, so on the back side of this coil I built here is laminations, little slices. It's really small. I mean, you guys got to really look in there, but it's small laminations. And this gets rid of the eddy currents. And the reason you get rid of the eddy currents is because you want to smaller down and not have any loss. So this is a bifilar wound. This is pretty interesting setup here. Like I said, Ed had 10 machines. The only one we have is the ones in front of us. I don't know if this is, what's up, my boy out there, Death Bread? I don't know if this is the machine that really would help support the outside field of Ed's compound in moving rocks or anything. To me, this would be more like my boy, made by one man, Scott Russell, a timing machine. It's positive and negative. It would be a great timer, pretty much like a 555 in our electronics. But you can get it. You can see, like, I got this thing running right now, I got this thing sitting on a wheel hub, which is not used to the pressure, but it does great. So look at it. I mean, this thing just sits here and just moves at ease. So if to get it to turn by any outside forces is easy. Like, I can use this, fire that up, a battery. Ed's wheel is about, but learning about Ed's wheel, you're also learning what you can do with it and go outside what Ed did. So, all right, so there's one area that I ventured into. You can see it's still moving. The other part of Ed, the magnets are positive and negative, makes a great timer. Over here, we get back to they're all negative. So this Bandini had showed that you could take this and with a 12-volt battery that's bad, and you can desulfate it. So basically what happens is all the layers of plates in there that are on top of each other, one's positive, one's negative, just two different charged plates, start to build up residue in there. So with this, you can use the back EMF here as a back snap, which goes into the battery as a pulse and vibrates the plates and knocks off the dead waste that builds up around it. And then from there, you can reuse your dead battery. So this was, in case you guys didn't know, it's great for that. But it's also good to play with because you get to control. Now, what happens is every time, the way this works, it works off of a 2N3055 transistor. And the transistors is set up off the feedback of this. So every time this negative or this negative side of this magnet here approaches the negative side of this, it's being pulsed and pushed away. So they're acting to each other. It's funny as heck to see a coil react to just a magnet. So it keeps the magnet. And you can hook up a variable transistor. I guess I'll look back in my videos. I have plenty of them. And you can adjust the speed. You can also adjust inside the coil itself on the saturation displacement of this coil of the core. And with that, you can use the variable resistor as a bias. So you can put more, you can restrict on one end to slow the wheel down, but you're adding more electrons going out the bifilers. So another thing I want to explain real quick with this is one thing I basically would take with the start of one set of wires, I would go to the next set of wires and I would cross one over from one end to one start. And what that does is, just like a car battery, it multiplies the voltage, okay? You don't get more amperage, but it multiplies the voltage. So I can get like 12 volts out of this with the 10. It's like, I don't know, like one and change, I think, out of each layer. So think of it as layers. So I got 12 volts, right? But when you put the load on here, the wheel slows down. So it does show you that there's no free energy here, but these magnets are so strong. There's no free energy here, but these are different ways and purposes of utilizing. And here you can see these are neodymiums, and basically, that's north, and these are the north side. So you can see I'm just playing. This is pretty cool stuff because this is, invisible. We're messing with energies here in space and that ether that we started to talk about a little minute ago. So yeah, cool little magnets. Back to ether. So you can see that right there is reacting to the core. The core there, pretty interesting to me, because if you look at the back side of the core, it's the other side of the dipole. And it's very interesting area here on the other side of the dipole, because what if you would take an LED light and put a ring of put another coil with LED, this side of the dipole would also light the LED. So there's energy coming out here. So basically, you can continue the dipole effect of this event, okay? So this event here is a continuation of a dipole. And you can take energy from that if you put things in the right area. So you would say if you had two coils, each one had a LED. If, for instance, let me see, do I have something of that source? Yeah, look at this. So for instance, I don't know if this is going to work. This last time I spun it real quick, it got that going. Let's see, is there? Not that way. The other end's disconnected. I can't connect that with one hand, can I? No. Oh, there's basically dipole. It's about dipoles. And what are dipoles, guys? So basically, you got an expansion and contraction in a straightforward line, and this end here is one end of the spectrum, and this end over here is the other end. Here we get into good stuff. Here's the good stuff. Ready? So you get into I started over here. You know, all this has been collective 10 years of records for me of different stuff, and this is majorly about ether, how the ether works, what's ether, and basically test. With that being said, let's see what got in this the juices flowing. Here we are. So I was working on one of my songs, and I was looking at the equalizer, and one thing I noticed that, let me get you guys set here. One thing I noticed with the equalizer, I watch the oscilloscope and all the studies that I do with Tesla, Edley Scallon, and other circuits that I use. There's a couple of things here I want to point out to you. This is about propagation of sound waves right here. That's why I titled this a two-part, not two-part, but propagation of sound waves. I want you to see, there we go. I want you to see over here, you got frequency, you got, don't worry about the gain, but Q is very important, especially in electronics and physics. So let's go over here, and one thing, I'm going to make sure it's not crazy loud. If it is, I'll turn it down, all right? Okay. Let's go back right here. I was working in this area here, through this area, and I was watching the waves and sound. Now, one thing I noticed that in sound waves, they are vertical waves, which electric waves and electromagnetic propagation is a horizontal wave that's portrayed in the oscilloscope. It's a timestamp. So, with that being said, in sound, we're looking at it in a vertical sense. In electric, we're looking at it in a horizontal timestamp sense, as well as vertical. I'm not saying that that's the direction the wave travels in, because it goes out ominous in every direction. But it's a bundle of dipoles. So I want you to look right here. So the funny thing is, if you look at the low end, we're at 34 hertz. So think about in a sound wave, there's a lot of particles attached in this propagation of the sound you make. It's a bundle of dipoles that are stuck together in the pattern that you create. This just gets my skin goosebumps going, and that's why I'm making this video. It's about the ether, and nobody that I really look to out there focuses on it other than some of the greats. Number one, I got to give him credit, Pythagoras. Sounds and harmonies. Galileo, stars. Merlin, alchemy. Newton, gravity. Speed. Ben Franklin, electric, static. Maxwell, ether, and that's where we're going here. Michael Faraday, magnetic forces. James Clerk Maxwell is right now's video. Kepler, second law, planetary motion. Bach, right now. Musical composition. So if you look at the waves going vertical, these sound waves. Now, what you'd see here is we'll have a frequency in this delivery of 34 hertz. And then as you go as the bass, as a low, okay? And then as you go to the high, you'll see this is a wave. There's the low end, the high end. We're at 7,550 hertz. Now look at the sound, what you're hearing right now. The highs, the horns. They're the carriers, the front end, first responder to that bubble. Think about what I'm saying. It's carrying. This is right here is a big bubble. You look right here, you got mid-range, I would say. You got 2580. You got secondary highs there. And then here here's your mid-range. Frequency of 1010. And then you got here a frequency of 680. Frequency of 171 to a low frequency of 34. So here you go. You got your waves going vertically here. And there's something here. I'm going to pull this and turn the music off, but I want you to look at the highs of the horns here. All right, great place to stop. So you've seen the highs when you've seen the waves. So when we look at music, we look at it in a vertical sense. And when I look at electric, you look at it in an oscilloscope, and in the oscilloscope, you're looking at it at time stamped. It's about time, and it's more of a horizontal. And we didn't create these. They did back in the day when they started making meters to read stuff. So, with that being said, sound waves go out, and it's a bubble, and it propagates all different directions. This is what the juices of today's environment has created, because it's the music propagation of how you create sound into craziness. So when I was reading the occult ether physics, it's Tesla's ideal flying machine and the conspiracy to conceal. I just read it. I love the stuff in it, but it came from this one. This is another part 4. This is, I think, the original OG. Tesla's hidden space propulsion system and conspiracy to conceal it. It talks a lot about the ether. It talks a lot about the ether. And I had to pull out my folder that I had here for 10 years. And the craziest thing is I just started looking briefly through this from looking at that wave. And I started noticing some of my notes. Electromagnetics radiation, waves resonator. Secondary coil must be a quarter wavelength at the resonant frequency. The electrical experimenter, I got that out of a book from back in 1912, I guess. Then it talks about wave resonators, tubes closed at one end, open at the other, walls rigid, confines as a body of air within the resonator cavity under certain conditions. This body of air can be brought to a state of resonance. There's your quarter wave. Then you have your octave. Then you got your Schumann. And then you have your earth information there. I don't want to get directly into anything particular in here, but what I want to do is bring this out to all of you, is that the juices are flowing today of getting back into my physics have started, because what was very important on some of the stuff that I pulled out is the main thing here. Is about the ether. And let me look at the page that I brought. So in the ether itself, there's a theory out there. It's called the double helix alignment. And it says the Lenz's law can be understood as the basis of stretching the ether will have tendency to tighten the electron sink and widen the positron sources. This will result in a generation of ether pressure that will oppose the tension that has created it. This is the Lenz's law. Tension in the ether may be caused by stretching the dipoles linearly, stretching the dipoles torsionally so as to increase velocity, causing the dipoles to precess. Dilation of the dipoles on the leeward side of the object in motion. Linear stretching causes the electron orbit and positron orbit to become like a two intersecting circles. This effect is called polarization. The angular effect lead to the centrifugal and axial Coriolis pressures of magnetization. When dipoles is caused by pressing out of the solenoidal alignment, it will be forced to back line against the induced ether pressure. During this process, the circle for something motion of electrons and positrons about electricity, you guys, right? And we know about the right force. So it's the ether that's controlling everything we see in our space. So going back to why it's important to look from your eyeballs out to what you're looking at, that space itself is what we're reflecting on right now. So in this space, there's something that I caught on here that that really got me going real good here. So right here, the idea that space is densely packed with electrons and positrons was originally conceived in 1982. 1982, like that to me, that's recently. But I know some of you are young, so maybe you weren't even born. In an attempt to explain Maxwell's displacement current without alternating Ampere's circuitry law. This idea did not come about in relation to the consideration of the concept of direct C. It has to come to light that quite a number of other scientists are advocating such approach. All right, I'm going to bypass all that. It says, here it is. When in Australia are jointly working on a model in which gravity is caused by a flow of C of electrons, positrons, couples into matter, and in which the electron-positron C, which they term the Norton C, acts as a luminous medium, advocates a sea of electron-positrons dipoles to act as a carrier of electromagnetic radiation. So you see the space between you and anything. It's going on. This is the area for all you people out there that are seeking to run something, a generator or free energy. Listen to me and listen to me closely. It only happens in this area of physics, in this layer of the onion that I'm putting out there, is where you can tap in, because I'm going to explain it a little bit and try to get out of here in this video in 10 more minutes. I'm sorry to take up a lot of your time, but hopefully you can process some of this, go back, watch it, and hopefully you'll use it in your notes and your own studies and whatever. So with the ether kind of being explained how these particles are out there and how they're swirling and how they're not matter, but they are. To me, matter is the energy. The solid matter that we see here is like a rock. It's a substance. So the important thing is that this matter in front of you, between me right now and that wall, is moving. And there's something that's causing it to move. And in here, in the double helix, we talked about the stretching of the dipoles and the Coriolis pressures, and the fundamental axis of the Coriolis force underlies Ampere's circuitry law in the solenoid equilibrium state. The electron, positrons, dipoles will align in a double helix fashion with their rotation axis, tracing out magnetic lines of force, and a tension will exist along these lines of force due to the fact that electrons and positrons will alternately stack. They're stacking. You know where they're stacking? Everything you can think of that we know that's on that periodic table other than man-made elements is in the space between my eyeballs, this camera, and that wall. Everything you see, it has reached a resting period, is what you see here and everything. The stuff we're talking about is the energy. It's moving. It's there. It's just it's waiting. I'm going to try to get there on some of this, on how it does turn into matter, how it can turn into matter, and what matter really is, outside of what we think it is as substance. So over here, it talks about, this is what it would look like. And to me, these are dipoles intersecting. They're swapping out. So you can see here that you have a couple step process on the high end. You got, say, a red being a positive, say this is a negative, high end, low end. And through the transition, when it drops through the helix here, you can see that there's a steady 3 lows in one section here. Then you move forward, that's on the going to the high end of this propagation, I would call that. And then you see over here, you got 3 highs coming up. So this is what takes the material and starts to turn it. Hello, good day, all. This takes the material and turns it. The tension of the lines of force is caused by magnetic attraction between unlike magnetic poles. The double helix lines of force will behave like helix springs. Check that out. So there goes your torsion, right? Helix springs, and pull the 2 unlike poles together. There's an element of flexibility as regards to the magnitude and tension of the lines of force, in that the helix angle can vary. So you can see how this thing just, in the right-hand fashion, it's always going to do that. It's everything we see in electrical does that because of the ether is trained. Hey, Jason, what's up, my bro out there? Jason in the house. So we're talking about the ether right now there, Jason, how to pull free energy out of the ether, I guess. And it all came from collective juices of the music into my electrical world. So here we go. So you got your tension lines caused, right? And the double helix poles, you got that. In the equilibrium state, the tension along the lines of force will be counterbalanced by centrifugal ether pressure in the equatorial plane between the 2 adjacent poles. So in that, I believe, you're going to have equatorial poles. So equatorial poles are going to be the north and south. So there goes your positive side of your north, your negative side. So if you think of the earth, the top is north, the bottom is the south, but that's the energy that's coming out is the positive out of the north side and the negative out of the south side. And you can see how it relates to everything that we kind of put together or see in the history books. So the energy itself we're talking about is between that wall and this camera and my eyeballs. And we're talking about the energy, and it's made up of all the elements we know. It's swirling, it's directing, it's got a Coriolis effect. It puts in place the Lenz law. It puts in place the Maxwell theory. It puts in place all the great troubadours that we had spoke about. But it's the equilibrium of, like, when you are charged up and you are in cold, dry area, not moist, which the environment, pressure, all that matters, and touch something, you get the bam snap. Woo! Hey, Angel in the house. Aha, my boy. You get the snap, right? So all of a sudden, the equilibrium we're about to talk about right now just happens. So what happens? So basically, I got a extra electron or more in me. I go to here, and this is obviously grounded because it's on the wall. It's touching everything. Angel, you're going to love this conversation. I'll get back and explain 1 second. And you release the charges at equilibrium. Angel, we're talking about space ether. We're comparing it to, like, my eyeballs, your eyeballs, to the material that you see out in front of you. The material you see out in front of you is matter, but it's matter that's bounded by the laws that were talking about with nature in itself, but really the ether that has everything that is in the element chart except for man-made elements. And it's the real energy is what you don't see moving. And we're explaining how it moves. And basically in the equilibrium state, the tension along the lines of force will be counterbalanced by centrifugal ether pressure and equatorial plane between the two adjacent dipoles. The mutual transverse speed between the adjacent dipoles will torsionally stress the ether, hence leading to vorticity. This will widen the positron source and generate centrifugal ether pressure. Ether pressure will be considered to be a positive charge, whereas the ether tension will be considered to be a negative charge. Think about that, guys. Charge will be dependent on the ether's density, and it can manifest itself in a number of disguises, including electrostatic polarization, gravitational inertia, and magnetic charge in the absence of rotation and tension. We're just going to leave that there because I wanted to explain the ether. So if you got all this happening, you got everything we talked about, between sound wave propagation, and we didn't talk about electromagnetic propagation. So an oscilloscope on electromagnetic, it's this way. We're looking at the wave traveling through timestamp, bam, 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 bam. Hello, everybody. Glad to be back. My juices are flowing electronically and in physics. And right now we are discussing the ether. We're discussing the energy, where the real energy is. It's not what you see. It's behind the scenes. It's all the juices, the jello, the whole enchilada. So going back another page here that got my attention was the this page here. It's radiation pressure, okay? And let's just touch base on this and see where it takes us. Pressure oscillations are caused by excessive outflow of ether, vigorous ether from the positrons of the electric sea. The excess outflow from the angular accelerated dipole causes a torque between itself and the next dipole along the line. That was the important thing I wanted to talk about, because in Lenz's law with the dipole, we're back here. Here you got a negative. Here on this core, it's whatever you want it to be. If you turn it around, it's a positive. You spin it the other way with the coil, it's a positive. But right now it's a negative and that's a negative. So we're creating a pressure here. So you know when you create a pressure in an event, this is an event, right? So if you look at that, that's an event. So right now inside here, it's going crazy. It's pressurizing, pushing out electrons out of the ends of the wire and everything you can see in there. It's totally spiral decoding. It definitely is, Angel. It's unbelievable. And you can see that. So if we were to have this being a negative and this was a positive, then what you have at that point, now you have every time this is pressurizing to this, well, actually, let's stick with both of these being negative. So every time that goes by, the positive side's over here. So back to the dipole, you grab a coil and another coil. And this is a way that I've taught myself how to not take any energy based on meters I was looking at out and still be able to light a LED. So right here, you would have a south, right? And say we're going to expand on the dipole and we're going to get it to light up. Every time there's action here, we're going to see the LED light up, right? This is in my studies that I've done. And I don't have it running to show you right now. So right here, I come out as far as I can to where the light is no longer lit, but it's lit. So, I back up a little bit to where it's lit. Then in here, this is the secret right here in the dipole and in the ether, how you can, I got one more page to show you and read to you, and we'll get this to an end. This, in the middle here, if you have a load in the coil wire and stick it in here, there's two things happening. If you have this turned the wrong way, it will steal this outside energy and become the outside dipole. And the effect is all you did was shorten the dipole linearly effect. If you turn it over and come in, it lights the light, and that still maintains the outside dipole. And that's where the electrons right now would be taken from without putting a load on the sending part of this. The wheel does not slow down. The speed does not slow down. But there's your free energy. If you want to get free energy, get into learning about the ether and how a dipole is. And we're talking about that today because this music I was working on, the wave propagation, how it's presented, how your eyeballs see it going up and down, and in oscilloscope, how you see it going this way. And that today all of a sudden got me thinking outside my normal realm. There's one more page here that talks, I think it's down here, magnetism. All right, so it should be noted that the above derivation of electromagnetic equation did not involve Maxwell displacement current. Displacement current in a linear polarization effect and its mechanical form can be used in a derivation of electromagnetic wave equation. However, when we use displacement current to derive from electromagnetic wave equation, we are actually using an angular displacement current that differs from the linear displacement current in that. It utilizes the transverse electromagnetic force of electromagnetic induction rather than an irrotational electromagnetic force of Gauss's law, electromagnetic radiation and a magnetization rotational effect that can radiate wirelessly from one side of an electric wire in its angular displacement effect, and it's perpendicular to its linear displacement current. Linear displacement, on the other hand, propagates along the space between the two electric wires, and it's advocated with cable sending wireless. The inability to make this distinction in modern physics is of course due to the denial of existence of very medium that becomes magnetized and or linear polarized. So basically, you are always dealing with the forces. You can't get away from the ether. The ether itself is dictating electrically everything we have. We get the sun pop in, and all of a sudden it puts in a big radiation. Everything electrically is going to be affected. It does take out a lot of stuff. One more thing, and I just want to thank everybody for watching this. Here, Tesla is quoted. Long ago, Tesla recognized that all perceivable matter comes from a primary substance or tenuity beyond conception. Fill in all space, the Oshkosh of a luminous, furious ether, acted upon by life-giving prana or creative force calling into existence in never-ending cycles of all things and phenomena. The primary substance thrown into infinitesimal worlds of prodigious velocities becomes gross matter. The force subsiding, the motion ceases, and the matter disappears, reverting to the primary substance. That's our boy Tesla right there. That's our boy Tesla. You know, there's a lot more I like to get into right now, but I just had to take a break for a second from the music and really just let loose here. This is letting loose. Sorry it took so long to be in action. I'm putting this out there. I'm getting ready to go to Alaska tonight. I'm going on a cruise ship for 2 weeks, and I am bringing a lot of paperwork, bringing acoustic guitar, my laptop, and see where it takes me. You guys look into the ether. Look into anybody who wants to go outside, solar, wind, turbine, energy sources besides just the grid. There was one more thing that I thought that, I thought that you guys would really like is how these dipoles travel. And I'm going to give you that page right now and give you your bedtime, nighttime story, okay? That's how it travels. And we did talk about it. Yeah, we did talk about it travels there, so we're not going to go back into that. I think, did I cover it? No, here we go. All right, let me just briefly just go over a couple of things. Guys, just, I'm going to lay this out, Snapchat it. Snapchat it, just take a picture of it. Here we go. Guess that's 10, this is 11. So it says right here, it says, talking about Kepler and gravity itself, a large scale ethereal effect, which is not technically an electromagnetic effect, but electric sea nevertheless plays an important role in interacting with the shaping of gravitational fields. In the case of an electron and positron, which are spiraling inwards in a positronal orbit, the accumulated ether pressure does not cause them to recoil at the moment of closest approach. Instead, they take their place in the double helix magnetic field structure. These individual things that are traveling in propagation, where they know their placement in the helix, in the turn like that. And they accumulate ether pressure itself, recoils in the two opposite directions in the form of gamma protons. The angular momentum in the transverse into the fine-grained angular momentum of electromagnetic radiation. No, actually, electron-positrons inhalation takes place as is commonly believed. The electron and positrons are still physically present in the magnetic lines of force. Although large planetary objects entrained a luminous medium while undergoing transitional motion, we know from 1925 Gale experiment that does not appear to be so ether in case of rotational motion, or the case of small objects or undergoing transitional motion. In this case, it seems that inertial forces overcome bonding forces. When a wire moves in the right angles through a magnetic field, we would expect electric seed to flow through the inner molecule spacing of the wire as like water flows through the basket. The important force that moves the wire will generate ethereal pressure from the positrons in the leadward side of the molecules of the wire. Due to dissolution of the ethereal dipoles, the ether pressure gives rise to electromagnetic force. The ethereal pressure on the windward side of the motion will do the compression of the electron. It's sort of like shooting a gun underwater. You'll see the bullet leave. You'll see the expansion. You'll see the contraction. And then in this water, there's good videos out there. I forget who did it, but years ago I seen a video. And then you see contraction to like very little, and then it expands out again. And it does it repeatedly, and as it dissipates its outward energy. So with the, where did we leave off here? So in the Kepler orbit, the radial pressure only acts in the outward directional, so it can flow with the compared and electrons, positrons, dipole orbit. The centrifugal force produces whatever. The ether hydrodynamically approaches, therefore exposes the source of the centrifugal force as lying the fluid like ether between two electrons, positrons, dipoles, hence explaining why the electric sea can behave like a liquid for the purpose of planetary motion and yet still behave like a solid for the purpose of electromagnetic radiation in the planetary orbit, and shear region is cushioned by the centrifugal hovercraft effect, while in electromagnetic radiation and particles maintain their positrons in double helix solid. Orbital stability and a magnetic levitation. I'll just leave you that to ponder. Hopefully I got some of the big words out. It was hard to kick out. I love you all. Stay tuned. Leave your comments.
Right, before we have any big gaps, I'll just share this smaller video. It's only a short one, people. And if you're still there, right, pay attention to what this guy finds out. It's relative to the Edleet scaling wheel that you've got there. And I'll just play the video, then we can perhaps discuss it afterwards. So that should be sharing, hopefully. This is from Lidmotor's channel. Before I play it, I'll give you a link to his channel. He gave me permission to play it because when I seen it, I thought, oh, Roy's going to enjoy this. And, you know, between us all, we might figure something out here. So there's a link to Lidmotor's channel. And I'll just let this play. It's only a short video. And find out what this guy figures out. So here you go.
Okay, I thought you might get a kick out of looking at this. I've been following some of the threads at the Energetic Forum and some of the other stuff going on the internet, YouTube, and they're looking at Ed Leedskallen. I can't pronounce his last name, but he's the guy that built Coral Castle. And the latest thing I read about today was the ringing of the bell twice. And I don't know if you can see that right there, but there's multiple rings there. And that's the ringing that goes on inside these coils, and they ring down when you hit them and then release the energy. They ring like a bell. And I just wonder, when I saw this, I wonder if that's what's happening, is I'm getting the double ring on this little thing that I built here. So anyway, I just thought I would share that with people, that when I saw that thing on the scope there, first thing I thought of was the bell and the ringing of the bell. So I thought I'd show that to you guys. And I don't know, probably way off base here, probably has nothing to do with it, but when I saw that ring down here and the ring down here, it just triggered something from what I read today. Anyway, that's what I saw today. Now I hooked the scope up right here to get that. If I hook the scope up in another place, I don't get the double ring signal, but that's where I hooked the scope, between there and the ground on that circuit right there. So anyway, this is what I'm looking at right now. It's a very interesting effect with this little motor. I'm going to turn it off and then watch the scope when I start this up. And this is the self-start. Watch, I'll start it again. You can see how it starts itself up here. See that thing start up on its own? Most of the pulse motors that I make don't do that. You have to twist them. You have to start them or else use a Hall sensor or something else. This is just 2 coils facing that magnet there. And because of the frequency on the thing, it self-starts. Watch the scope here. It goes right into that strange H shape with the double ringing going on. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little bit on the scope shot here. Thanks.
So there you go, guys. That's interesting information from Lidmotor. Now, what is actually taking place there, I'm not sure, but it looked like he managed to generate a second signal by using the ring bell twice. Is that doubling the power, perhaps, or opening another channel? Something to consider, and perhaps you could look into that, Roy. Maybe Jimbo's got some ideas on this, but yeah, very interesting. Ring bell twice. Now, while we're on the bell, one more screen share, and we'll show you, some of the stuff that we figured out. I think it's this one. Yeah, this one here. I'll just share this. Now, if you remember from our 144,000 video, we decoded the Milky Way to be, it's actually the horizontal component, probably what you would call terrestrial magnetism. This is the horizontal component, and the technology we're working with is the vertical component. The angels become the vertical component that bring down the electric 90 degrees in opposition to this. Now, if you look carefully at the shape of it, look at, it's the bell shaped. Now, the blue one represents night and the red one represents day. So over the course of 24 hours, you're going to get this change. And we're going to get deeper into that later on after Jimbo does a presentation. But these are what I would call the bells when you look at the shape of them. So Jimbo will probably elaborate further on that. But I wanted to show you that, this is what we're decoding. This is taking place physically in the real world now. And this is, I think, what Nikola Tesla figured out when you look into the vortex mass. It's, it's working with this technology. So I just wanted to share that with you as well, guys, because, you've got things like this to consider. You may or may not be aware of all these things taking place if you're not familiar with our research. But I would recommend you start watching videos like this one of ours, where we start breaking it down and go deeper into some of these subjects, because it's all connected. It's the same thing on a creator side scale. Man's just scaling it down to work with. That's really where we're at. So what do you think of that, people?
It's a lot to take in.
It really is, isn't it? Are you still there, one?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, so the horizontal component also, like how we can see that, is our earthquakes, because then there would probably be another wave going from west to east. Otherwise, we wouldn't have our west to east motion. But as far as that goes, that over the 24-hour span that you were talking about, that, our earthquakes do that over one 24-hour span. We can watch them roll across, and tomorrow they'll start again. And it happens again, and it's every day, and it's repeatable, just like those waves.
And when I showed that to Jimbo, he gave it the correct terminology that I couldn't think of, and over the course of 24 hours, Jimbo figured out it's one full AC wave over 24 hours. That's right, Jim. Yeah.
Yeah, a positive and negative half cycles.
And if you guys watch our Glastonbury Tor video, you'll actually find, and One Conscience's neutrinos video, you're going to find neutrinos. We can identify them in nature because what we've discovered is during the day we've got a positive state in the ether. But let's start at dawn. Dawn, we've got a neutral state, which was when you would see fog. It's not rising, it's not falling, it's just kind of hovering there. And this is how you can actually recognize it in the ether. So fog hovering in the ether is like a neutral state. Then comes sunrise or daylight, and the sun coming across, it starts becoming positive and starts rising, of course, and doing what it does. And then evening time or dusk. So dawn and dusk are both neutral states, and day and night are positive and negative states, is what we figured out. So, consider that and factor that in what's taking place in what we call nature, the nature of this construct and its creator. This is what the creator teaches. They've always been teaching how this technology works, and that's what we're seeing in glyphs and from our ancestors. Everywhere we look, they knew it and portrayed it everywhere, in every way, shape and form it can be portrayed, and we can decode that, and that's where we puts us in a unique position to help explain it more. We're think of us as like a bridge between the past and the present, because we've got dark ages now history that certain people have been taken advantage of. Indoctrination, wars, resets, and all this kind of thing. You'll find some of that covered in our research. Didn't you have an animation one to show on something about this?
Yeah, I mean, I have this, the thing about the bell being brought up. So everybody knows that we kind of look at all these places that are, government places or owned by the state, and we pretty much, can't really get in them as much as we would like to, or even underneath or anything, because they're owned by the government. So we like to look into those places. So one of the places that I was looking at, and this has been quite a while, is the Gateway Arch, which is right by, it's in St. Louis in Missouri in the States. Okay, so I thought it would be neat to outline the whole thing. And I don't know if it's going to let me share. Hold on. I'm still learning this. So that was the Gateway Arch. So I did this video of it. So check that out. Isn't that really cool that it's a bell? And these are like the sound waves coming off of it. Like, isn't that crazy the way these gardens of
Can you play that? Sorry, can you play that from the start again? Because it didn't screen share till halfway through then.
It goes back to it.
That's okay. Right, sorry, carry on.
That's okay. So, yeah. So this thing, as I outlined it and lit it up, whoops. Shoot. I didn't know it was going to go on to the next video. Am I still screen sharing? Or did I stop?
I think you stopped.
Yeah, you stopped one.
Okay. Well, anyway. Yeah, it's a bell. So that would be some of these frequencies from whatever's underneath that is showing through the landscape. Here we go. I got it back. Yeah. So I just think that's pretty neat, that we can do things like this and look at their landscape and how they lay out these different monuments and stuff.
Yeah, what one's showing you there is it's a garden. You look at the the powers that be and how they portray all this sacred geometry. You find it hidden in gardens and everywhere. And that's what One Conscience was doing there. She was line tracing some gardens, and this is what it revealed. And right in the middle, look at the bell. And it's even got what you would look like two ringers there. Look, on each side. Ding, ding.
Yep, one on each side. Here we have, it's a spiral shape, this fountain here. It actually comes in and it's a spiral. So,
It's even got wings like an angel when you look at the bell.
it does. Yep, it really does. And another neat thing is, remember Rose? Like
Yeah.
she chose the icon, and it kind of right here looks just like it. So, but anyway, when you look at the topography and how they've, built these sites, it tells a lot. I have others, but I haven't animated them of different other sites, and you see really crazy things.
But the good thing is, one, they can come here and see it decoded now.
Yeah.
Can't they?
Yep. Another one that I'm going to do, but I haven't lit it up yet, is the World Fair. So the World Fair was also in um, uh, Missouri, sorry, right in St. Louis, back in 1904 or something like that. And look, this one is like a radar. I actually started lighting it up and I lost it somewhere. But yeah, like all these things are really telling.
It's quite interesting, Walter terms and radar antennas, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And also the, the Nazca lines coming out to look like antennas and such. So all these sites are just confirmation. It all correlates.
It's more and more of the same everywhere we look now, isn't it? Now we know what we're looking at and decoding. It's so much easier. It gets easier and easier, doesn't it?
It is.
I think what we'll do now is now we've been, we look at the macro a lot. We look at the micro a lot. Let's take a look down in the micro, because Jimbo's going to take you down a route and present some things to you now and introduce you to the world we need to be looking at to put this technology to good use. So I think now's a good time, Jimbo, to start yours.
Yeah, as good a time as any, I guess.
Yeah, okay. I'll screen share it, and you just prompt me when you want things changing, mate. I can find the folder. Stand by. Here we go. I can pause this.
So this is an electronic layout of what they call a cat whisker radio. It was a simple device that could pick up through an antenna ground system AM signals out of the air. It's a little piece of wire, a coil, a ground to a kitchen sink, and a couple of capacitors. And the D here is actually a small crystal of gallium, a lead oxide, and it allowed you to clip the AM signal and hear it through the microphones, if you will. At the end, the E is a set of speakers, of dynamic speakers. So I guess that's good for that one. Hello?
Yeah, I was following it, Jim. I don't know if it jumped too far ahead there. Yeah.
There you have what they call the armature for cat whisker radio. If you didn't get a signal, you'd lift up the little piece of wire on the little rod and reset it down and do it till you got a radio station. And that was basically poor people's radio at the time, but it worked well. There were millions and millions at one point. You only see them in museums and stuff. So I guess we can move to the next one. Okay, in electronics, you have like components, and the most basic are the resistor, which we see the symbol for a little ceramic resistor or a carbon resistor here. There's a numbering system. The first two numbers represent, the values, and third and fourth are multipliers. Then you have like tolerance, which is whether they're 80% efficient or whatever percent. It's just a way to know what you're dealing with and the quality of your components. So we can go to the next one. You should see a bunch of examples of resistors. And in general, the bigger the resistor, the more power they can consume, more they can take. They get hot too, so never touch a hot resistor. It'll burn you. But there they are, and they're all color coded, ceramics included. The one at the very end, the 5 watt.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, and you might know the answer. So, in an electrical circuit, okay, so if it's a closed in circuit, because I really am not as well versed with actual electricity as I should be, but in a closed circuit, when the energy hits the end of the circuit, would it start back over or would it go back the other way?
Technically, it grounds out.
Okay, so it just stops.
Yeah, it like goes to the. It's supposed to, if it's a battery system, like a 1.5 volt battery, it flows through the circuit and then winds up back at the positive end, draining.
Okay, cool. Thanks for answering.
Because with our system, we see the electrons as moving from the negative to the positive. Oddly, the British system has the electron move through a series of positive holes, and they call it a positive to negative system. So you couldn't wire a car the same way here as you would in England or European cars. You'd blow up stuff, burn out components.
Typical, eh?
So then, speaking of our Earth system, when you're talking about, something following its path, and so no matter what, it's going to have to continue on, say, under the surface to get back to the other side. It's going to have to be a continuous loop.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically like a magnet. One young lady in New Zealand, I think it was, or Australia, was able to photograph the magnetic lines leaving the Earth, going up towards, well, I guess the dome or whatever you want to call it, and then back down to, Earth at another spot. So she was able to capture those waves.
I would say they could probably be localized waves within the torus field of the local rainbows, Jim. That when you
The
think about that.
smaller ones too, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so what people are calling a dome, we're seeing half of a torus field basically sticking way up above ground, aren't we? You look at a rainbow and relate it to a torus field. It's on top of a torus field, and that's probably what they're actually measuring. Very interesting. Do you want to move on to the next?
Yeah, yeah. So this is a resistor and a capacitor with a low voltage battery. Now, this is a very simple looking circuit, but it's called a timing circuit and also a filter circuit. So depending on the value of your R and your C, you can have 60 hertz flow through or, 10 kilohertz flow through. An RC circuit is used to filter different wavelengths and allow some to pass and some not to. So they're low, medium, and high bypass bandpass filters, they're called. So it's just basically a resistor with a little capacitor. And It can help to control traffic in a circuit, and that's its purpose. Control when things happen, by timing things. So we can move on to the next. This, most electronics in your home and TV, don't matter what, you start plugged in from the wall and then you go to the back of your TV, whatever it is, and your AC current is going to go through a transformer and then through what's called a full wave bridge rectifier. It changes AC current, it rectifies it, it corrects it, and makes it a DC, a continuous direct current. So for most electricity to be usable, most often it's direct current we're using, what we call DC. And this is a circuit that simply helps to convert from AC to DC. So we can move on to the next.
I love that picture. It reminds me of something I'm working on right now. That one right there. I'm working on showing the Earth energy system and how it, goes from ground up to the clouds and back down and around. Anyway, it just reminded me of it the way it's laid out.
Yeah,
Sorry.
one thing you can note is that the direction of the arrows is the direction of the current flow. This is again a what we call a no. This circuit is to mix two signals together, so it's to make harmonics, or it's a harmonic generator, if you will. But it's also okay. You got the headphones at the back, but um, uh, this blends two signals together, and then allows you to use them. But when you have coils like that, it is just for that. Make a mix, a blended or a heterodynes signal. So everything's about signals, just detectable information, whether it's bits and bytes for computers or audio that comes in FM or AM. It's all about treating signals, capturing them through an antenna ground system and processing them to, hear your music or, play tanks or whatever. I guess we can go to the next one. Yeah, these are basically like elaborate diodes, but they have a little more to them. These are PNP transistors and NPN transistors. What they do is they allow you to apply a small signal to the base, and it'll change the current exactly relative to the amount of change on the base, but amplify the signal as it goes through. So these are used to amplify stuff.
Opus has a question for you. Is that how I would mix two DC square waves from different devices together?
Yeah, you could, and you'd mix them through. You could still send them through a bridge rectifier. It would still work. Now, here we have what we call a basic layout for a superhet radio. Basically, it's a radio that can transmit and receive, but also play music or do whatever. Um, you have a variable frequency oscillator, an RF filter. You have a beat frequency oscillator, the BFO. Basically, IFs are intermittent frequencies. You need to capture a signal and do a lot of amplification and treatment to it, filtering of it before you can actually, get your detectable information from it. So A lot of these things are built in stages and stuff, so that if something burns out, it's usually one stage or one set of components, and it sort of makes it easier to fix. So we're good on this one. And all of this stuff, even though it's symbols in this, it's metal junk and coils of wire. Like here, this would be coils of wire wrapped around, little ferrite cores or something. And where it says C1, it's a variable capacitor. It's like two aluminum plates that are separated from each other, but you can increase or decrease the amount of surface that they each face and change the capacity or capacitance of your circuit and get different frequencies to come through. In this one, by varying the C2, you get different radio stations, basically, by changing C2. That would be a knob that you turn, connected directly to the aluminum plates. So I guess we can go from there. These are samples of capacitors. The ones with the moving plates, well, the two that look like they got waffles on them, those are your variable capacitors. They allow you to turn and tune to different stations of radio, or sometimes it might just be different frequencies on a treble, on a amplifier or something, some type of preamp, if you will. But basically, the larger they are, in general, the more current they can, more voltage they can, well, more electrons they can hold, and the more dangerous they are if they're not drained properly. If you touch both ends of a hot capacitor, you will get a shock. Normally non-fatal. We're good on that one, I guess. So these are ferrite cores and transformers, basically. There are different kinds in this for different uses. Some are for radio, and some are just for changing your voltage, getting higher voltage and current to a circuit. But they're all just mechanical and, usually often handmade. In the day, they were all handmade, now you can go to a shop and buy what you need, wrapped and already valued, if you will. These are some symbols for the different types of inductors or coils. Often it's coils of wire around a metal core of some kind. And the metal core amplifies the power or the magnetic ability of a coil, or a piece of iron for that matter. If you wrap a nail with insulated wire, pass electricity through the wire, it'll magnetize and pick up other nails or do whatever. It becomes an electromagnet. Very powerful devices. These are some of the coils or yoke cores that are used for televisions on the back of the old cathode ray tubes to deflect the electron from the cathode ray tube to draw the image on your screen. They were able to deflect it from the top right to the bottom left and cover 400 or 500 lines of image 30 times a second. It was good technology, but again, very, very primitive, if you will, by today's standards and stuff. Here's some of the old electronic junk. Some is still used today, depending on the equipment and the needs. But these are a bunch of ferrite cores. They're just made to be wrapped with insulated wires and produce a magnetic field for whatever purpose. So we're good on that one. The E-shaped ones are often used in televisions and larger transformers. This is a smaller, radio transformer. or coil. These would have been used in a lot of the old televisions and a bunch of the old AM FM radios. You see a bunch of these guys in them. It'll have a specific number of turns or windings. This one has several windings, but again, it gives you different frequencies and different amounts of, a magnetic field that collapses over time. So they probably needed for, anyway, different amount of backup energy, if you will, because they store, and if the power drops in a circuit, the coils can help to keep it fed until it gets new juice. So in part, that's what Faraday cores are for. Sustain EMF, the electromotive force. That's a Faraday core on a USB power adapter, I guess. Helps to cut some stray frequencies, but it also builds an EMF or an electromotive force, so it can continue to give a little bit of electricity, even though the power behind it might be reduced or not being strong enough. So they're just sort of a precaution. Make sure you get enough power sustained. And there's one of the yokes on the back of an old TV. Those would produce between 24 and 36 kilovolts of positive or negative charge to deflect the. And there's the hole that you can see up higher. That was to put a positive on the screen and on the phosphorus on the front of the tube where you see the image. A lot of voltage between those two surfaces. The vacuum. More ferrite cores. These guys are usually for radio TV. They aren't used very much anymore. And they are very fragile. It don't take much to break them. Chip them. And there's another basic cat whisker radio with the diode. It shows a basic antenna ground system. The A1 is the antenna and the GND is your grounding area. And they have a variable coil inductor there, L1. Again, you could put a crystal of gallium at C2 in that circuit, and basically you got your tuner for AM/FM radio. And this is just how to draw like intersected, connected, or non-connected lines in a circuit board, or hand-drawn circuits, so you know what's connected, what's not actually.
Fantastic, Jim. Good information, mate. You guys in chat, I wanted Jimbo to go through this with you because we do need to start understanding electronics more and working with it more. The reason being, like what we discovered. Hold on a sec. I'll just stop sharing that. Find where there it is. Yeah, I'll just show you this, and I'm going to hand it over to you. There's not much more to show now on this part of it.
Well, I just want to say that was absolutely awesome, because if you remember all those lines I was doing on Google, Jimbo, a lot of those pieces look like what's, in the Earth surface.
Circuitry, yeah.
Yeah, like that's pretty cool.
Isn't it? It's like the old days. Remember the sigils? That's the one you're talking about, isn't it? The little circuit diagrams. They've always been here, haven't they? They've just they depicted things differently, it seems, with these circuit diagrams. Right, where's this video I want to share? This one here. I'll just share it from here.
Well, like an iron plate with a little rust might as well be an inductor, you know. React the same as a coil, basically. Don't matter how big or small. In fact, ferrite cores are often not just a wire, little piece of iron oxide or real cheap iron that's used in electronics becomes an important component, you know. It might seem like dirt or rust or whatever, but has a purpose.
I'm just going to drop 2 links in chat, people, for 2 channels that's going to feature. I'm going to feature a little bit of their work in a video I'm going to show you now. One's bigclive.com and the other is Creative Techos. Now, if you remember from the alternating current decoder of the Milky Way, which is what's on screen here, and what I discovered with the solar panel afterwards, where's that? This here. Now, well, let's go back a bit. Right, yeah. So, you know, this is an air pump that was pumping air into a water barrel during the day. But at night, I noticed there was a polarity switch and it reversed the flow. So this is how we knew there was a definite switch between day and night taking place in this construct. And, you know, what happened was it instead of pumping air into water, it was now sucking the water up the pump, up the cable, up the tube, up towards the pump. Now that motor on this, there's a little 1.5 volt. Well, it'll actually run on 1.5 volts. The motor inside that yellow case, and the voltage it detected at night was 1.9 volts. So it was enough to run that motor at night, and that's what was causing this reverse flow. Now on solar panels, they put what's called a switching diode on to stop it doing it. But you know what we're discovering is there's power there at night time. We just need to be studying it a bit more, and you know what can we do with it. So I found what I was doing, I was looking for a circuit that I could utilize this switch at night, and I've come across bigclive.com's channel, which is on screen there. So I reckon you subscribe him. And I found this video he made a few years ago, which he figured out a circuit where he basically put to use what he called a leak. He thought, he's saying most people is calling it a leak, but it's not a leak. It is a definite switch in polarity. And this is Mama Angel testing a solar panel lights that I made this circuit with. So, go to Clive's channel. If you want to make this, it's a project I recommend you, your kids, everyone gets involved with, because it's a good, fun project, and it's so cheap to make, and you can see little uses there. Now, scale this panel up and you got a lot more power going on. We obviously need a bigger battery. This is just a small solar panel off eBay, a protected 3.7 volt battery, and some components. So simple to make, and I just lumped that together to show that how it worked. And this is a circuit diagram I made for myself to show you what's that circuit. So this is a little project you, your children, everyone should have a go at it. This isn't hard to do. It's very easy. You don't need to understand any of these components. You can learn that as you go. This one here learned me a few things. I don't understand. I understand some components, but not a lot. And there's the other channel that I noticed had a battery level indicator circuit. So I thought, well, okay, can I find if it's charging or not? So putting this in line, I found it was starting to eat the battery more. So I put a momentary tactile switch on there. So you just press when you want to check the indicator. This is an optional extra that I thought would be useful for that circuit. And that would be that circuit now added into the other circuit with the schematic. So that's what I made myself, and it works. During the day, it receives light and charges. It detects nighttime coming on, and it switches on automatic. And as long as it's had enough light through the day, it will run till sunrise the next day, just about. I've seen it run all. I've got up the next morning, and it's still been on. Just before, as it starts getting light, you'll see the light starting to dim, then it switches off and goes back into charging mode. Very easy project to do. You can get a lot of these components scrap and for cheap off eBay. And, what I want to do is send this panel to someone with this circuitry on, and, have them analyze it. But from what I can see, it seems to be, the circuit seems to be utilizing what Clive calls a leak, but what we're seeing is a polarity switch. And this circuit seems to work fine with it and charge during the day and discharge during the night. Very clever stuff. But, that's the important thing we want to put out there. There is a definite polarity switch between day and night, and it can be detected, like I showed you with that air pump. So that was what I wanted to show you. Now I'm going to hand you over to One, because I think she's got some things that she wants to share.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to replay this YHVH clip. That way, people that are newer can get a little understanding about the angels, like what they do, what their function is. I think that it was a really good decode, and I didn't make a mess of it this time. So hopefully everybody can hear it when it starts.
Hold on, I've got to add it to the stream. So keep it paused, One, until I add it. Right, there you go. Now you're ready to roll. All yours.
Today, we will decode Jehovah. This is the biblical name of the God of Israel. This God is not the creator of the realm and all, which we will elaborate on today. This God is one of the little g's that are creating on a more micro scale than the source creator. Their roles, we at APM Research have been highlighting for some time now. So, Jehovah is also known as a tetragrammaton in ancient Hebrew. In metaphysics, tetragrammaton is a mathematical equation for the essence of the universe. From APM perspective, everything we have researched in the last few years all leads to the same conclusion. There is a creator and a construct. Various cultures have depicted this as a pentagram, with each point representing an element: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. Spirit we now know to be electrical, with positives and negatives being manipulated and stacked by the force known as magnetism. Jehovah is also depicted in sacred geometry symbols, such as the one we see here. This overlays beautifully on our realm and shows us the energy flow and some very special cross points we have discussed in great detail in the past. The sacred geometry we come across everywhere are also used by Freemasons, and their logo, which shows expansion and compression, which we have decoded, this representing our realm, undertakes to perform its functions. The manipulation of the 5 main mentioned elements: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. 90% of them probably don't understand the meaning of the logo as we do. It was designed long ago and stolen by the ones at the top of the pyramid and called their own, just like many other symbols. The masses look at it blindly. We, with APM eyes, have taken off the blinders and learn all these ancient symbols and the true meanings. Today, we remove the blinders to the formula Jehovah. So let's begin and learn what Jehovah really means and the little g's functions and roles in our realm.
Y is the division of the sex pairs, the positives and negatives. This is what Walter Russell's work was based upon. To elaborate further on the Y and how this came to be, we have to look inside the vortex. This is the electromagnetic components mixing the positives from above with the negatives below. This is what causes the reaction that forces the division and multiplication of the sex pairs into what we call electricity. H is the horizontal component of terrestrial magnetism. We have to think of the insides of a capacitor. The equatorial plane is the center of this giant capacitor, our very plane of existence in the realm model. The positives are forced upwards and the negatives are forced downwards. This is the purpose of the horizontal component. It keeps the opposing polarities separate. This is how the capacitor maintains its equilibrium. This can be explained in Walter Russell's work, which shows two opposing forces being separated by a third force, which we now know to be magnetism. Magnetism's purpose is to divide the positives and negatives and maintain an equilibrium. V is the velocity that takes place when dividing the sex pairs. There is specific velocity for dividing the positives and negatives. In our terms, this would be equal to the speed of lightning. In Newtonian mechanics, linear momentum, translational momentum, or just momentum, is the product of the mass and velocity of an object. It is a vector quantity assessing the magnitude and direction. H, this is Planck's constant. This is a physical constant that is an electromagnetic action which relates to the energy carried by a photon to its frequency. Planck theorized that the equations of motion for light describe a set of harmonic oscillators, one for each possible frequency. The spectral radiance of a body describes the amount of energy it emits at different frequencies. So in simple terms, this is the frequency the energy radiates. Scriptures tell us God is light. Walter Russell did say there will be a time when religion and science have to come together. That time is now. Open your eyes, people, and see the glory that has been hidden from you. The descriptions and sacred geometries given by every culture are doing their very best to describe the glory of the realm. That glory is this technological glory which reveals a very intelligent creator.
YHVH. You will notice that H appears twice, but governs two different arenas. The first H is the magnetism that forms the equatorial plane of the macrocosm. The second H refers to Planck's constant, which regulates the energy in the smallest units of light. The constant itself is the mathematical expression that represents how much energy a photon has based on its wavelength. We know from Walter Russell that what regulates energy into its opposing components is magnetism. So the two H's both represent magnetism. In this respect, the H's can be likened to the number 1. 1 is an interesting number because it can be used to express the whole of a system or the smallest unit within a system. The first H is magnetism that governs the system as a whole, while the second H is the magnetism that governs the smallest units, as above, so below. Another interesting connection is the Greek letter epsilon. Epsilon is the Greek equivalent of the Hebrew letter H. Epsilon is used by mathematicians in the formula for dielectric permittivity. In this respect, epsilon is the measure of the ability of a dielectric to become polarized. The higher the permittivity, the more polarization can be achieved. The more I explore APM with my colleagues, the more we come to realize the interconnectedness of all things. Such a beautiful and harmonious balance exists in this realm of our Creator. Yet that very balance is in jeopardy because of a select, greedy few. My own personal belief is that this exploitation will not last much longer. We are entering a new age, and the warnings handed down to us are very precise. The way I understand it, there will be a shift in the energy of this realm, and it will not be compatible with the lower emotional frequencies we associate with evil behavior. I know not what is in store for those who continue down that dark path. What I know is that those of us who live in our heart already are in the great shelter of life. Much love to you all.
Although we cannot give this the wording, splendor, or glory it deserves, we can put it into layman's terms for all to understand. What we are highlighting in this decode is the formula YHVH has given us to harness the electrical energy of our realm and understand its mechanisms. All of nature is attributed to the mechanics of the angels. This is the nature of our realm. This is what the ancients knew, and the Creator wanted us to understand clearly. Look around, people. You will see sacred geometry everywhere, from the micro to the macro in life. Now, we should be more clear why the ancients called the luminaries of our heavens gods, spelt with a little g, O-D-S. Although they are doing their role creating, they are not the source creator, but a creation themselves, of magnificence and glory according to scriptural descriptions put here to serve their function by the source creator. I don't know if our brains are able to grasp the magnitude of the whole of the source, but piece by piece we can understand our realm. Okay.
Lovely video that, wasn't it?
Yeah. So hopefully that can have people understand like angel functions a little better. You know, that's just one of 144,000, and I'm sure each runs differently on a different, frequency and puts out vibrations and such.
Yep, it's a very, very big picture, people. But it comes together easy, and the longer you work on it, the easier it does. It becomes to understand. So it's well within humans' grasp to get all of this. I think it needs to. It depends on your own knowledge base and interests. You know, we've all been indoctrinated and all the rest of it. So, you know, a lot of the things you learn in school, you're going to have to throw away. A lot of things you've learned in life, you're probably going to have to throw away. Because what we're finding is, religion and things like this have been put in place to misrepresent what the Creator's glory actually is. It's been hidden from mankind. And what we've discovered at the international date lines is there in place again to hide what is east and west, where the luminaries come from and go to. So this, our research over the past 5 years has been revealing this, everything to do with it. Every subject we look into interconnects into this construct and its creator. And, we're the only ones that's putting this out there. It's strange, that what we see in this community as well, there's some very distasteful behavior taking place. This information is sacred, it's important, it's special. And people are running around just trying to monetize it and desecrate it, even in some cases by association. It's we don't want to see that. We don't want to associate with people like that. We're not interested. They're not at the level ready to present this kind of research. So my advice to you, people doing this, is stay away from it, because you're just making a mess and desecrating it and embarrassing yourselves. You come at us and try and take this and monetize it, we're going to expose you. This is not for monetization. This belongs to everyone. So there's my advice on that subject. I think you all know who we're talking about.
Mary wants to know, how do you live life differently now that you know about this? So,
Well, I wondered where that question would come.
for me personally, I appreciate every little thing more. Now, I've always been very, um, I like to be in tune with nature anyway, but every little thing is just more precious. You know, all of this was made for us, and we have to take care of it.
I think that's our original role. You look at some of the tribes of the world that are there to represent this information. And if you remember, the United Nations blocked them from attending a meeting at some point in time. These people are just like us. And in fact, now what we're seeking, we do seek counsel with any of these tribes of the world. We know what they know. We know we're in a position where we can explain this in modern terms, as you're noticing. And again, we could be a link between their knowledge and current knowledge on this technology. We know they know this information, and pretty obvious why they don't tell people. It's too sacred and precious. But we're at a point in time now where people need to come forward and expose what's taking place for the future. Very serious, very real, and very now is what's taking place. They're doing every attempt to hide this construct from you as possible. Plans A to Z in full operation to, well, you know what, the reset. So, you people that work on this technology, I know some of you are starting to wake up to what's going on, because we do watch certain streams and channels and sites, and they're coming out and saying the same thing as us. This technology has been here a lot longer than man's telling us, which is pretty obvious when you look at our research. We've done nothing but uncover it from day one. So, we would appreciate if anyone knows any tribal leaders, they can put us in touch with them, and we'll get together and tell the world. The world needs to know what's taking place here. This is too important not to. So no drama. You drama queens, keep away from the channel. We're interested in people that can take this further, progress this knowledge, and share it with the world, because it belongs to everyone. Doesn't matter what country you're from. No one gets left behind. Our ancestors all knew this everywhere. We can prove that to you. We can decode the glyphs, the dances, everything that we look at, we can decode. We decode so much, it's impossible to put it all in videos. So a lot of it we keep for conversations like this, where we could bring things in, or people want to ask questions. And, we'll introduce the other parts or pieces that we've decoded that fit in somewhere. So that's where we're at, people. We're trying to find the right people to tell this to, and that can maybe make a difference or reverse what's taking place. What I'm going to do here now, you'll find people that's been recording the sun halo, moon halos, well, any halos, lunar waves, which now to be stationary halos above rainbows, the demiurge, another good name for it, that was decoded, and the rainbow warriors, the people that's now capturing rainbows and adding that information to our database. We haven't got any updates this week for you on that, because the good thing is people are taking the time now. A few people rushed in at first, sending images and this is here, this is there, but not giving us a lot of information, which creates a bit more work for us. So it seems now, we're talking to some people in our stream, they're taking the time, they're noticing there's more than one in the region, so they're now mapping it how it needs to be mapped. So I'm going to share screen just as a reminder for people. The internet, the kind of information that we're looking for, and hopefully we can help you obtain that information. But I want to play this Glastonbury tour video, because it covers a few of things in there, and it actually introduces you to some of my local angels that I've been recording. So I'll play this from the start. It's on for 21 minutes, so if you guys want to grab a coffee, I'll let this play, and hopefully more people will join in recording their local angels and start, teach your children this information, people. They love it. They start mapping rainbows. I wouldn't be surprised that at some point in time you're going to get those trading cards of angels. I can see it coming. I mean, and to be honest, I think that's probably what our history actually is. All these different names from different cultures. It's all trade-offs. My God's more powerful than your God. It becomes a game when you think about it. When you're talking about local angels and how powerful they are and what roles they represent, this is what the ancients are telling you. They're discussing the angels here. This is what they're really talking about, and you can see how that would become a game with children over time. So it's like top trumps. Those cards, the trading cards that you play against each other. Anyway, I'll play this and we'll grab a brew, guys, and let the people watch this and obtain the information, hopefully for the rainbows that we need, and keep progressing this and adding to the database. Here you go. Hello, and welcome to APM Research Operation Rainbow Warrior. Operation Rainbow Warrior is an operation I put in place after decoding what is creating the rainbow. You can watch that decode in our 144,000 video. So who are the Rainbow Warriors, you ask? You are, each and every one of you. With your help, we can map them and prove to you the people they appear to revolve where you see them. What this means is that they are the electromagnetic signature of angel technologies in the underworld. These are the Creator's glory sealed below, the seal of the 144,000. In other cultures, they are saints, deities, cherubim, seraphim, Anunnaki, Elohim, creator gods, and many other names and depictions from all over our world. You are all referencing the same Creator's glory below and also beyond man's fake barriers, the international date lines and North and South treaties. The objective of Operation Rainbow Warrior is to teach you what is sacred about these sites everywhere in the world, as we can decode their sacred geometry and its meanings. This knowledge is older than man's written books, of which you must now look at with new eyes, and see that the characters referenced actually relate to the Creator's glory. The Creator's glory is technology of such magnitude and design it extends beyond the known world map, the correct map of which is the Mercator map we use in our research. We invite every human being to participate in this adventure, as you will find it very liberating, enlightening, and of course realize what creates our reality and how to see and recognize their signature in nature. The Creator's glory is technology called angels, and we will help you see them operating in nature, for they create what we call nature. Now, as you know, APM Research are doing a series on the world chakras. Considering we use Glastonbury Tor as our Rainbow Warrior logo, I thought I would decode the Glastonbury Tor for you to see how we do this. Decoding the fourth chakra, the heart at Glastonbury. Don't forget to bring your third eye, the sixth chakra, to see it. If you remember from my Milky Way decode, we consider chakras to be playing a shepherding role and behaving like waveguides for the spiraling waveform we call our Milky Way. Similar to horizontal and vertical hold functions a cathode ray tube would use. Glastonbury is considered to be the heart chakra of Mother Earth, with the ley lines of St. Michael and Mary Magdalene crossing over it. They converge at the Tor, which is located at the top of a small hill and forms part of the Avalon range. Famous for the mist of Avalon, an early morning phenomena that cloaks the town, today that mystery will be solved, and it relates to angel technology below. We are going to keep proving to you what is creating our very nature. There are many stories and legends told about Glastonbury Tor, relating to kings and other names of historic connection. These characters are personifications of the angel technologies below, The names and descriptions of them change somewhat over time, but what is below never changes. This is one of the seal of the 144,000 I decoded sarcophagi to represent, a sealed room below. Holy books tell you the underworld is the angel's prison. It is not lying. You have just forgot they were personified. This is why they are characterized with a halo above them. The spiral glyphs are the spiraling pressure waves of electromagnetism, what we now call wind. It is these halos that create an electromagnetic field and create the rainbows, winds, a projected halo, and of course weather conditions like rain and snow. They draw the sap up into the trees in the morning as the sun rises. Their electromagnetic field reverses polarity between day and night, which I detected on a solar panel. This drone flight was flown by drone pilot Drone HDTV Drone Journey, so a big thanks to you, matey. You captured something important I want to show you all. I want you to see the mist forming in the shape of a halo. It is this halo below that is responsible for the mist and fog conditions in that area. As you can see, it becomes visible during sunrise or sunset, meaning the ether is alternating current as I decoded. Also notice the mist or fog is also not ascending nor descending. It is in a neutral state awaiting programming. So we have effectively decoded the visible aspect of how to identify neutrinos, which now gives us a dawn neutral state, a daytime positive state, an evening neutral state, and a nighttime negative state. Isn't that interesting, people? Another APM first. Okay, now on with decoding St. Michael's Tower, which sits on top of the Tor, which actually means torus field, the field created by the angel. If you look very carefully at the buttresses on the sides of the tower, you will notice 4 distinct venturis where it narrows. This represents the same octaves decoded in Walter Russell's motor, and also what I decoded from the King's and Queen's chambers in the Pyramid and Rome Colosseum. It is the blueprint for creating electrical energy, a manufactured torus field using compression and expansion and spiraling or compressed water. As far back as we look in history, man has always known what all of this represents and known how to harness electrical energy. That is very evident now, and it is created by the angels below, which man has always been aware of and harnessed from. This tower represents the compression and fusion point of compressed light in the electromagnetic spectrum. An angel does this using its torus field and the vortex compression flow of a tornado or waterspout manipulating the ether above land and sea. The angel below the Tor is a king, a very important piece of the Creator's glory, which has been given the name St. Michael in modern times. A Christian once asked me what is sacred about geometry. Let me tell you this now. Our ancestors never worshipped false gods, nor was anything pagan taking place. They were all depicting the Creator's glory in all its weird and wonderful forms, everywhere. They were glorifying it, and all it represents, the exact same glory. Everywhere in this world, they've left us clues to decode, and this is something we are very good at doing, as I'm sure you have noticed. Our world is something created and very special. Need more proof? Behold, the King's rainbow, created by Michael and Mary, the electrical part of electromagnetism 90 degrees in opposition to the physical halo below, the origin of lightning, Adam and Eve, male and female, positive and negative, king and queen, electric and magnetic, masculine and feminine, Atlas and Alice, Jesus and Mary, Ra and Isis, prince and princess, gods and goddesses, the creator gods, the creator's glory of the underworld, found in all holy books, creation stories, glyphs, myths, and legends throughout time, are now being proven as true right before your very eyes. There is a creator, and their glory is everywhere. You are now a witness to these revelations. This cannot be unseen. It lives there, people. It always has and always will. Now, who will be the first to time-lapse it revolving? The heart chakra is a Venturi system of compression and expansion similar to what we decode in lava tubes. It is designed to keep the flow moving, the heart of the angel. It stands to reason our own hearts do a very similar function. We have been decoding the Creator's glory now for over 5 years. We look for ways you can prove this to yourself, and Operation Rainbow Warrior is the way forward, as it involves all of you because this belongs to all of you. Get your children involved in locating and mapping rainbows too, people. They will love it. Rainbows are very special. They are part of the Creator's angels that we get to see in the visible spectrum. I made this clip to show you how the Sun and the angel's electromagnetic sphere interact as the Sun moves across the sky. The rainbow is either the Sun reflecting and refracting on the electromagnetic sphere, or this is what the electromagnetism looks like on a creator-side scale. When you spray a hose in your garden and find a rainbow, it is being focused down from behind you, meaning the full-sized rainbow is in between you and the Sun, behind you somewhere. When you record rainbows, be sure to look at the color of its electromagnetic sphere below it, as it does change, and is possibly the reason behind the moon's color changes we usually see as we are viewing it through this electromagnetic medium in the ether. Let me introduce you to two angels local to me. This one likes to play peekaboo in the mornings. And this one I've been watching for a few months. Watch how clouds gravitate towards the center of the rainbow in this clip. This is electrical attraction, and you will notice clouds coming from different directions converging into the center of the rainbow. This is their torus field in operation, drawing in the positives and negatives. I was watching this one a few days ago and noticed it more active than usual. The fingers of clouds coming down like branches on a tree. The winds were increasing, and I was looking around to see if there was anything different taking place. After several minutes, I found the culprit. It was you, Luna. You did this. My local angel was shepherding the arrival of the moon. Luna tried to hide, but it was too late. I got a positive ID. Pay particular attention to the clouds, people. Their movements are very revealing. We also look into other ways of detecting the angel's halo below, such as walking over sites with a device like this, which is just a piece of wire and an LED. This is basically an antenna now capable of receiving. The length of wire determines the frequency it will be most responsive to. The frequencies they operate on would require a very large antenna, which would just be too large to be practical. Coiling wire like this would be a way of testing. This one is reacting to a USB charging pad below the paper. The idea would be to walk across a site and see if it lights up. If they do, then add more, and at night it would reveal the outline. If you can think of other ideas, let us know. Emily Moyer suggested using a compass to see if it changes. And now for some rainbows. This one is from We Are Waking Up in Cork, Southern Ireland. So what I'll do here is give you some ideas how to go about recording your local angels. Try and use Google Earth to pinpoint the center on the map. Take note of the rainbow's diameter so you can see where the edges reach. This will give us an estimate of scale. Take a look around in Google Earth at sacred sites, because it is not what is upon the surface that is sacred, it is what is below in the underworld. Once you have obtained the information, let us know the GPS coordinates of its center and an estimated diameter, and we will add it to the APM database. This one is a full circle rainbow captured by Sunsets Sweden with his drone. I used the video to get some markers in Google Earth we can use to be more precise, which I called location identifiers. This is the smallest rainbow we have ever seen, which brings us to the classifications we will be using as the angels use a hierarchy system. This one would qualify as a cherubim, I think, one of the smaller, lesser roles, but still part of a larger process. There will be a larger one nearby that should connect to it. There are going to be more and more of these as this reset unfolds, so do have your cameras at the ready. This angel is now mapped and added to the APM database. Excellent work, Rainbow Warrior. I'm going to leave you with this helper file so you can start locating angels yourself and adding information. Don't forget to include your children, they are the Rainbow Warriors of tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, what is it that makes a site sacred? It is not what is upon the surface, as they are merely location markers for something very special below. The Creator's glory, the angel technologies of the underworld. Our ancestors knew this very well, as they had many sites already marked, such as we find in UK. Castles built on top of Roman forts, which are built on top of Celtic forts, and so on. They are all location markers. Your holy books and creation stories exist to define your world and its workings. Your very reality. Reality is not a religion. That is a man-made divide. Reality is just that. Reality. The truth. Let this angel be a guiding beacon of light, so that every human being remembers the covenant handed down to them from the Creator, giving you all dominion over this realm. This knowledge belongs to you all. It is your birthright that has been stolen from you. It is time for you to awaken. The future depends on it. Our research is proving there is a Creator, and their glory is the most amazing thing we have ever came across. Now you can ignore that if you like, we cannot. Open your eyes and see the Creator's glory they are desperately trying to hide from you. It is there for all to see. This world is far more magical and mystical than you could possibly imagine. See the glory, people. It is your birthright. This is an angel, a very special one. Look for it and you will see it and know the Creator's glory. Tribes of the world, it is time to awaken. We do this for the Creator, their glory, and the future of the human race. All glory to the Creator. Well, I hope that gives you some ideas, people, for capturing your local rainbows and how you can help APM research get them on the map. Any questions at all about any of the videos that we've presented tonight or information? Now would be a good time, I think, to do a questions and answers, guys, yeah? You still with us, Jimbo and Mon?
Yeah, I'm here.
Just checking. So, people in the chat, any questions on tonight's research or even previous research, feel free to ask questions right now, and we'll just interact with you.
Are there 144,000 rainbow locations?
Well, that's what we intend to find out. The 144,000 is actually a start figure for us, because if you listen to the Book of Enoch, it does mention hundreds and hundreds of thousands. So we haven't got an exact figure, and we have seen lots of angels' names in Research One Conscience done a few years ago. So we've no idea how many there actually is. But, you know, it's a good start figure. We might get that figure and keep going, then we know, yeah, there's a lot more. So that's what we're trying to find out. Any more questions from people? What about you, Jimbo? Are you still there? Gypsy says, "Can I say you are a priest?" No, I'm no priest. I'm just an average guy like everyone else. No one is above us. We're all the same.
Are angels based at the rainbow locations, or do they move around? Well, it'd be like a lattice, right? Like a whole lattice of them. So the energy is moving along the lattice.
And when you time, what I would recommend is time lapse your local rainbows when you see them. Start time lapsing them, and you will see they appear to revolve the rainbow. But what's really taking place, it's the sun moving round and revealing the full half sphere that you can see on the surface. The rainbow's just marking where it is. Now, this half sphere is half of the torus field. The other half of it is below ground. And that's why drones are capturing the full rainbow. They can see they're above ground at altitude, looking down, you will see the full circle. So, electromagnetics penetrates everything. That's why you can see below ground. So if they're not moving other than the sun going round them, the local ones are all permanently reside there. The only moving ones that we know of are like the sun, the moon, and the other planets. Of course, the stars, but the stars to us are nodes on giant star halos. The stars aren't what you would call planets. If you look at the sun halo video, hold on, I'll just type it in the chat. Give you a link for it. If you watch the sun halo video, you'll see this is a 3D model made from the images of the sun and the videos that people sending in. So managed to make a 3D model of it. And that's really what you're seeing. It looks very much like what that animation will show you there. And if you don't recognize that kind of technology, I would recommend going to Specsavers because that is technology. What you're seeing in the sky is being put there by an angel below that is actually moving across the map, well, below the map. But all of them move below the map. We're just seeing the electromagnetic projection of it in the sky. And if you look at the decode of the demiurge, the monad, the dyad, and the demiurge in last week's stream, you'll see how they put a halo into the sky. Just the same, but these ones have got a different configuration. And this static, the rainbow, you should find one above each rainbow. Every rainbow you see should have a halo above it somewhere. That's its presence, and you can register its presence being there by capturing the moon going past that area at night and recording it. And you should capture what they call a lunar wave. It's actually the moon highlighting the stationary halo in the foreground as it passes by. And it's not unique to the moon. All the luminaries can do it, even stars. You'll see the stars doing little distortions now and then. They're going past these halos, and it kind of flips the image upside down, then corrects it again as it moves across it. And this is what people filming in flat Earth need to understand. We get this mirroring effect. It's this technology in the sky that's causing these effects. So, we are going to put out a video just on flat Earth kind of proofs, and what you're actually looking at and how it works will help you understand what you're seeing better in the atmosphere. So, that is in the pipeline. It's not going to happen just yet because the people working on it are kind of busy at the moment. But it will come out, and you'll get the APM breakdown of it, of what you're actually looking at in the ether. Yeah, some move and some don't. That's what we're saying. Your local rainbows, they don't move other than, they function there. They operate from where you see them. They permanently reside where you're seeing them. Whereas the other type, like the sun, the moon, and others, they are actually physically moving below the map. And what you're seeing in the sky is just part of it. The sun is attached to this technology. It's a piece of it, and it's this technology that's moving, and it's carrying the sun's projection across with it. Now, we use the word projection lightly. They create cones, and like Jimbo's explained in all the videos, the sun is sitting on top of this cone pretty much. Now, what we were talking about earlier, where you get the overlap with the Vesic Pisces and the special part in the center, that center is exactly where the sun is coming from. So there's a piece of technology in the center that's projecting that sun up in the sky. Now, the code of the sun, if you look at Isis and Ra, Israel, it's three separate words. Israel is 3 separate words. Isis, Ra, El. It means female and male electric. That's the decode of Israel. It's the female and male electric. So it's the electric sun. This is what it actually decodes as. It's the positives and negatives of electricity. It's all about electricity, and what we call light is electricity. When you compress light, which is in the ether, which we mentioned earlier, atomists call them atoms. People call them particles. Scripture will call it God or light. This is what's being manipulated in the ether. Now, the Creator's teaching you with this technology how it works. The sky is actually mapping out. Consider the sun 1 unit of electricity moving across the map on a Creator-sized scale, because that's what the Creator is showing you. These are different octaves of electricity. 1 unit of electricity moving across the map, well, above the map, is what the Creator is showing you, and the frequencies and octaves and such that's involved in doing it. This Creator teaches science and knowledge. There's no worship or religion with this Creator. That's man-made stuff to hide this. You probably, you read your holy books and you will come to the same conclusions, especially when you come across our research and how we're breaking down the science behind it. And it's always been taught by the ancients. We see it everywhere, and you see it yourself once you realize what you're looking at. Very hard to hide it once you understand what it all depicts. Question: do you experiment with the motherboard of God's glory and do deliberate creating? Man can manipulate that, yes. There is technology man's now using, or reverse engineering, or pretending to build, such as particle accelerators that were actually already here. This is the technology that manipulates the ether. Yeah, what one conscience said there. The angels create our winds, jet streams, quakes, all of nature. They're responsible for the whole of nature. They are the Creator's toolbox. The Creator's tools of creation. To us, it seems automated. Now, AI can even come into this. What's down there running all this technology? We get asked that a lot, and to us, it does seem automated, and it's repeating cycles. We did discuss this in older days. Is the life forms down there doing this? But with a life form comes a lifespan. So I would discount life being down there that we would know of. Perhaps technology more like Mauro Bellino, the Vatican translator, describes as robots, technology. It would make more sense, robots would be operating down there, and that's kind of what we've seen in the Nazca lines. I did decode a robot in the Nazca lines, hovering through the control panel. So, humans and technology go together. I think we always have.
For Jamie Robbins, so when I did the underground labs, I would probably suggest watching that video, because I think that this is science trying to study these things underground. Then they can say that they created this, they created that. So probably only, the ones at the top would keep it to themselves, or try to, because they can't, because it's nature. But they could say that they created this and this is theirs and they own it, and oh yeah, you have to pay for it, by the way, and stuff.
Yeah, the Nazca robot dude. Remember him one? Robot dude.
Yeah.
That seems a long time ago, that, doesn't it? But yeah, it's always been here. According to mainstream, it takes like 10 years to build a particle accelerator, and according to them, there's now 30,000 in the world. No one seems to see them getting built. They just get declared, and we've got one here, we've got one there, we've got one here. They're everywhere. They're already here. Man's just renamed what it is, dressed it up, and obviously reverse engineer it and giving you their breakdown and bullshit on what it's really doing. We can see what it's really doing. It's governing what we call nature. This is what they do.
Yep, they're impossible to keep, but they're easy for them to dig down and build these labs and study them. And then when they, put out all the science, they just make this complete mess of it. They make it so complicated that people just don't even try to understand what they're saying. But when you kind of dig through different pieces of it, you can extract the truth about what this technology is. That's kind of like what I like to do. I like to go through these science papers and extract what they're saying. And sometimes you have to take out a lot of the the complicated parts, the mathematical formulas and all this other stuff, because even though it's massive and glorious and we can't really wrap our heads around it, we can understand what this technology is.
We certainly can, and the longer you work with it, the easier it gets. You know, we don't expect everyone to be able to understand all this. To understand it like we do, you would have to work on it as long as we do, have the discussions we do and everything. So, you know, don't beat yourself down because you don't understand it all. We've got proof. Even our own scientists don't even understand it all. So don't worry about that. Over time, if this, becomes public and things get reversed from what's taking place today, you'll probably get skilled on how all this works, like the ancients used to get. They had calendars for all this, everything. These people have devolved mankind to hide it. Every despicable act you can think of has been put against mankind to hide it.
Yep. How many we've collected? We've collected a lot. A lot of people want to get involved in this, and they turn in, their data, and then we just put their GPS coordinates in, and we're collecting the database for all the stuff that people hand over. Not only that, but underground labs and particle accelerators, rainbows, different weird anomalous areas. Because that's where you're going to find this technology.
And what we're showing you on screen now, this is how they're operating, and this is where the beetle shape comes from. The scarab beetle, Buddha, all these kind of shapes that you see depicted. The Vesica Pisces, this is a big halo and a small halo overlapping. Somewhere special, usually where the overlap is, like Glastonbury Tor. So, we will show you eventually the map with them on. Like I said, people's doing it right now. They're taking the time, they're mapping, because there's more than one involved, and it does take us a bit of time to capture them, because the ones I showed you locally to me, I haven't seen them now for a few months. So it could be a case they switch on and off, or people are chemming different material that kind of masks them, because what the chemming's doing really is drying the atmosphere. It's interfering with the precipitation process, which is what the angels are actually designed to manipulate in the ether. They manipulate the waters above and below. That's where it comes from. As above, so below, decoded. This is how they operate, and they're interfering with that. So, it might take some time for you to eventually figure out how many is local to you. But you can guarantee you're going to see at least one or more. I've seen at least 5 local to me now. I haven't got recordings of 5, but I've seen them when I've been out driving. I thought, another one there to go and look for. And I'll take Mama Angel with me to go and study it. I've been teaching my mother this for the last 1.5 years now. She never knew anything about this until 1.5 years ago. And she loves it. It comforts her. She knows this world is something very special and there's more to come. These are the kind of things these people have stolen from you. Evil people.
Yep, I've located my local angel, one of them. I've seen it several times in the same place, the rainbow, and by the direction wise and how far off it appears, I've put it down to a church called St. Thomas the Apostle Church.
Yep, that's modern terminology. St. Thomas. Every saint's got a halo above them. Now you can understand why they're marking these sites of the angels. That's actually halos, the halo configuration that you see in the sky and below ground. That they pretend that they're constructing. Very blatant, very obvious, and this is very provable. What we're showing you here, this can be proven. You can go out there and prove this to yourself. You still with us, Jimbo? I have to unmute him. He's muted. I can't unmute him, so there he is.
There we are.
Sorry, Jim. I didn't see that.
Hey,
Yeah,
am I back?
it looks, yeah, you're back. Look,
There you go.
there was two of you there on the panel. I was clicking on the wrong one. Sorry, mate.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I got
found
this
it. I
figured
found it
out.
out.
One of me has got to go.
Yeah, there's two of you there, but it doesn't matter. You're there now. I can see you.
Yeah.
And hear you. So, any comments from you on this, Jim? What are your thoughts on tonight's stream?
Well, I still wonder how the actual rainbows form at the same place and sort of why. I know it's compression and stuff, but what I liked was the talk on the double helix or the helix and its voltage. I'm thinking a lot about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, if you look on screen there, Jim, this is a recording someone sent in.
You see the face? Do you see the face in the mountain at the back there?
Yeah, yeah, I can see it.
Joking. That's definitely a big head.
Can you see the rainbow going down on this side of the face, but behind the hill in the foreground? So that one there's quite local to this guy's. It's one of his local angels. That's it. When it's rising, that's it switching on. When it's shutting down, it starts sinking into the ground. This is him switching on and off.
He's not alone there as a Titan. Yeah.
Definitely not alone, because there's more than one there, isn't there?
Oh yeah. The whole range of mountains is,
And look, see how the clouds are drawn to it and pass through it. As it's passing through it, that angel is stripping all those electrical charges off that and guiding it where it needs to be. Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So, you see clouds slowly move and then they suddenly start gathering pace. That's an activation somewhere. And in that layer, they're all going to head right towards that rainbow because that's the torus field drawing them in. Every rainbow sitting on top of the torus field.
A core sample straight down from the center of one of them. Like I say, I had the one place in South Carolina. It wasn't a rainbow. It was a little vortex every day. Mm-hmm. But it's the same basic idea. It's a compression zone. And instead of having the water vapor and being able to see rainbows, there we saw dust devils every day.
Yep, dust devils a good sign of them starting up.
Barely move an inch from where they seed,
So next time you people are out sitting in the park or somewhere and it's nice and calm, then suddenly you feel the breeze of winds getting stronger and stronger. This is an angel starting up, and if you watch the trees, you'll see it climbing upwards. The spiral of that pressure wave starts climbing up the trees and going up into the sky. You'll actually see clouds, reacting to it. Amazing stuff when you know what you're looking at. They shall not transgress from their duties, Professor One. No, they do what they do by design. And your holy books warn you about all this. The holy books are there to teach you this science and knowledge. Not worship and religion that's been added to it by man to hide what's really going on. So there is truth in holy books, and there's a lot of misinformation that people's intentionally put in there, which they've no right to. This cannot be controlled by any group of people, any race, religion, group, or nation. No one has the authority to take over this technology. It is not man's. We are supposed to be its protectors.
No, but
so that children of the future can enjoy their life.
Yeah, they've created a situation where they can control the sort of outcome of the next reset,
Yeah.
Because they've got it militarized so that as the reset flows through on its own naturally, they can step in at any time and, make it worse.
Oh, yeah. Which is I think that's what's taking place now. There's some stuff going on in Ukraine. It's just going to expand outwards at some point, I would imagine. It's one of their it's one of their plans A to Z of.
Yeah, I remember when the shelves in Ukraine, Poland, and Russia were all empty, and we were the ones feeding them. now they're saying, oh, we all got to pay more because Russia's feeding us, and they're at war and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Jesus, what the hell,
They're all working together.
No guff.
Yeah, they all work together is what we're seeing. That's why I don't trust politicians. That is politics, royals, religion.
No,
These are,
and
these are these are the same people putting mechanisms in place to stop you finding this.
yeah, and they just try to censor more of the information and unsub people and not let them get notifications. All kinds of shit they do. So some stuff you just stay away from. They want you away from vaccines and viruses. Stay away from them. Politics, queen, cannibalism. Stay away from it. Might as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to share some background stuff. It's muted so we can carry on chatting and people can enjoy some glory.
Yeah. Well, it's like Monty Python. One of their shows was about cannibals in the British military, and a couple of people are walking asking about cannibalism in the military, and the ones in front are saying, oh, there's no such thing, it never happens and stuff, and right behind him there's a guy eating someone's leg. Yeah. And they have this one where two, imprisoned masons, if you will, Freemasons, meet each other in the street, and they have this freaking weird handshake under the leg, between the legs and everything there. Just nonsense handshake, but they made it hilarious.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah, the world is a stage decoded, people. Now you know why it's a stage and what they're hiding. We're dealing with actors at all levels. Where do we go from here? Well, we keep telling the truth. So people realize the truth. And like Jimbo mentioned before about the militarization, that all our police and all our armies are governed by this entity that's involved in hiding and stealing the creator's glory. Until they realize this, they're going to keep doing their commands.
Well, they got Beyonce to lead armies of, witches and stuff. That kind of thing going on. So, part of it's military, part of it's music military, People follow these comedians and musicians and whatever, and they're just basically led down the garden path,
Yeah. I
Distracted
would
from
recommend people go and have a look at all the names that's in Antarctica on these mountains and places. Have a look at good look at them names and see the people who was actually involved in it, because they've got the names everywhere at Antarctica.
Well,
They can't help. They can't help themselves. They like to claim things.
Yeah, on the old maps, Australia's wasn't the continent of Australia. It was the whole ring continent of Antarctica, if you will. Had places named, had dragons that could pick up elephants and fly off with them.
I don't doubt that either.
Now
From what
there's
we've seen over the years.
just snow and ice. I beg your pardon. I don't think.
Yeah. Well, Admiral Byrd mentioned land beyond the south of the South Pole, which definitely isn't a globe he's describing, is it? South of the South Pole, you wouldn't use that on a globe. No, he's describing somewhere south of the South Gates, and it's a tropical paradise. That's what he's describing. And I think there's one probably similar in the north. We get the 24-hour sun cycle. What's there? Where exactly is the sun overhead in the north? But we need people in the north to say, right, the sun's overhead here. Right, well, where's here? How far north is that? That's the places we haven't got access to because of the North and South treaties and the international dateline fakery taking place.
Well, you could be on the equator on when the sun is at its apex, and you're still not looking at it overhead. You'll be looking off to an angle at it, eh?
Mm-hmm. It can't happen. Plus it epicycles across the sky, so it's never going to move in a straight line anyway.
No, and you can never film at 90 degrees above you, no matter where you are, when you are.
Are you going to say something, Mon?
Yeah, I was going to go back to what Jim said about, them making it worse when the reset starts to occur. You know, and they do things like fracking, like Yellowstone. Like, why would they frack Yellowstone if they weren't building up to some kind of impending doom with it, you
Well,
know?
maybe collapse the caldera itself, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And building dams. Like, why do they build these massive dams that are right
Earthquake,
next to
fault line.
cities? Yeah, and then the earthquakes and right on the, plates, and eventually it's going to crack the
Well,
dam and
it,
it's
it
going to
would mud
flood.
flood. It would mud flood everything downstream of it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
People
And it
would
would
have to like fill in the basement, make new basements, and then turn what would have been the first floor into the ground floor, you know? Big
exactly.
window wells just like the last time. But
Yeah,
you know, it seems to me that as they went around destroying these cities, which it was deliberate, you know, every city had like a molasses fire or a squirrel did it or something. The Great Chicago Fire, whatever. Halifax, they had a bunch of nitrate, which was like fertilizer and gunpowder stuff, and they blew up Halifax. You know, pretty well every major city they blew it up. They razed it to the ground and then they rebuilt. You know why? And why would they do it again? They're still doing it. They did it to what's that place in the Middle East? There, they had 10 years of war there. They just had a big bomb go off a few years ago. Lebanon, Beirut.
Yeah, Beirut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they stored a couple million pounds of like fertilizer there, and one day it all caught fire and detonated. And they didn't have
Oh,
10 years to get it out of there, to put it in the fields, to grow crops with it, do something.
that's something other people aren't considering as well, Jim. That attack could easily have came from below.
Yeah, and it could have just been any like we have Halifax. They could decide, hey, let's store a bunch of nitrate here. You know, I say sure, store some, store enough for farmers and people who need to buy it for legitimate purposes, but not more than you need. You know, and you just don't take a boatload just to because they can't afford to pay a harbor fee or something. You know.
There's something I want to run by you as well, Jim, but I'm not going to do it on live because, well, I'll tell you in private what I want to run something
No
by
problem.
you.
Mary said, "Can you please explain what you mean when you say reset?" When she hears that term, she connects it to a financial reset, but it sounds like you're talking about a population reset.
Yeah, and building reset. You know, ecology reset a little bit of everything in the reset.
The reset that they're all doing, well, they're all having their own little reset events taking place, mankind. They know it's coming and they're doing a reset. Now, the construct itself has a reset cycle. We detected it as, we called it the 400-year reset. Every 400 years, this construct goes into a cooling period, which follows the Maunder minimum. And it can bring, like many ice ages, go back to the 1600s. You'll find it took place in the 1600s. Now, when this takes place, this is what your holy books and revelations and prophecies are actually referring to. The end times revelations and prophecy is the luminaries shutting down for a reset and then restarting, basically. And this is what was it. These halos that you're seeing on screen now, these have been recorded in history and they keep popping up every 400 years. So it's part of the cycle of it shutting down. We get to see it. And this is what your holy books and things are trying to warn you about. It's not threats or anything. It's this is your world. This is how it works. It's got these reset cycles you need to be aware of, and be careful. Mechanism changes were put in place, which is what we're calling the star halos, to accommodate, to help life that's getting thrown about with these resets, to make it a bit easier on all the life forms in this world. So adjustments were made for the life forms, but it's still going to be a destructive event. So there is a reset that these people work around. They follow this reset, and in history they've been taking advantage of it. After this reset, it's basically you're going to get your mind wiped and all kinds of things. It's like the flashy gun at Men in Blacks. Events like that can take place, and even species can behave out of character. Like your dog might not behave like a dog anymore. Things like this, we've seen that in history. It's been recorded. And this is what we put out a video called the 400-year reset. Now, if you go back 400 years at a time, the 1600s, the 1200s, 800s, 400s, 0.00, when the calendar got reset, when the Romans invaded. So the Romans invaded Britain just after a reset, which made it, they could just walk in. We don't know what hit us, and an army can just walk in and take over, which is exactly what took place. And within 400 years, if timelines are to be believed, they were writing holy books that they want you to believe in. Now, I'm not going to believe in an invading army's books, I'm afraid. I would rather look at what our ancestors taught before they arrived, and that's what we've been doing. Our ancestors were teaching us all this, how this works. They were being taught it everywhere. At one point in time, we all had the same glyphs, the same language of glyphs all around the world. That can be proven again. We all had the same glyphs. We all spoke roughly the same language. So, even after these resets, people can invent new languages and books. You can guarantee they've already rewrote holy books to hide even more, because that's what they've been doing, hiding this information more and more after the resets. Mauro Biglino's proof for that. What is decoded in holy books refers to technology. What they're putting into holy books and selling you has had all that removed. So, this is a guy that translated for the Vatican coming out and telling the truth of, yes, there's technology. The angels are technology. And you can find him online. He still talks about it. Mauro Biglino. There's a video on my channel who is talking about it. So, this isn't made up stuff. This is reality. The reality is there's a creator and their glorious technology that's creating what you see in the sky. We just happen to live on the surface of a stationary level plane that's got amazing processes taking place below and their effects in the sky above. This is how it works. There's no religion there. That's just reality.
Can I screen share?
Of course you can.
I've been wanting to talk about these maps that I have, and I just haven't, I just haven't gotten around to it, but why not do it now? So I found these maps, and these are possibilities of an outcome, once we have our reset. So it's just different continents, and, you can just kind of look through it yourself, and you can always go back, but like here's Africa. So the high points of our world is probably our safe zones. I did another map, me and FPV did, but it was a lot smaller and not quite as detailed as these. And see, like some of the land's going to rise up, like Zealandia. People talk about that. Here's the original New Zealand. So things are going to shift. Where it takes out some land, it's going to put other land, make it rise up or show. We get over here in India and China, up into Russia. Here's the western side of Europe. Watch out, you UK folks. And then, they call this Atlantis, rising up in the Atlantic Ocean. There's other spots that they have other land rising. So we're going to get new land while we lose some of our old land. Here's one of the entirety of the United States. We have new land here, 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 here. Greenland seems to be much bigger. A lot of Canada's gone. The United States is almost split in half.
See you, Jimbo.
Yeah, poor Jimbo and poor you, FPV.
No. Hey, where's my country gone?
Yeah. Yeah. You got a little bit left if you can figure out, where to go.
If I can swim over to Ireland, I'll be fine. Sorted.
Get a boat. But you can see a lot of, Russia and up here. This is all going to end up gone. So these are our are low areas. Yeah, I hope I go fast too. Let's see. I don't know. I'll be okay. So
Ooh.
I should be fine. But
Yeah, that's a good map on that, actually. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is, you know, and
Have to
each
get
of
a
them are
put that
just a
out a
little,
nice high res of that out there somewhere.
yeah, South America. Along this ridge, we have that 2,000-foot drop off. So
This is
that
what
part's going to be safe.
this is what we see with Red Dames, wasn't it? They're predicting what's the future. They're basically trying to predict the future of where's going to get flooded
Zoom into
and all
California.
these other
Okay,
problems.
whoops, went too far.
Uh,
Zoom into California. Yeah, you're pretty much, screwed. You have some of your high mountaintops, though,
yeah,
because
sorted.
California has a lot of mountains. So I'd say move high if this is a possibility. I've always heard my whole life California is going to fall off into the ocean anyway. So
If you live in Nevada, consider buying a fish farm.
right. Make sure you live up here, and you'll have oceanfront property soon. So this would be pretty much the whole Cascade Range.
I will say one. People go on about the world being 70% water,
Yeah.
but it's still 100% landmass below that water. People
Yeah.
forget that. They think it's just water there. No, there's land. It can rise and fall.
And Spain. Yeah, a lot of Spain looks okay. Center and around the edges are pretty much gone, but there's a lot of mountain ranges in Spain, it appears. So, if this was the way it was going to go, one, it would cause a huge mud flood. Everything under here, when it finally starts to drain away, would be completely just covered in mud. Everything would be covered up from the water. Even in Japan now, still, they have all these around this area right here. You can go down into Google Earth and see that there are buildings under the ocean, in the ocean. Japan's gone. See you later. Bye.
Yeah, from previous resets, isn't it?
Yeah.
So once upon a time, that land was
Hawaiian
below.
Islands.
That land was above water, and now it isn't.
So Hawaiian Islands, they still seem okay. They're going to have a nice big landmass, it looks like, south of it after that. So
Get your flags. As soon as the reset's over, people get a flag and go and claim land, because that's how you claim land after a reset. You just put a flag there and that land belongs to you. So make sure you're carrying flags in your dinghy or whatever you're escaping in.
Yeah.
You've got to laugh, haven't you? What else could you do?
I mean, there's nothing we can do, really. There's nothing we can do. We don't know exactly, if this is exactly what will happen, and we don't know exactly when it's going to happen.
All we know is it's progressive and becomes more and more noticeable in the sky. That's why we, keep an eye on the sun halo and what the events in the sky that they're trying to chem and hide.
Yep.
There will be signs in the sky, in the stars, it says, doesn't it? Or the skies, there will be signs in the skies. Yeah, when these events unfold, the signs are there now. They're just trying to hide them. But it is progressive and probably will get worse and worse, as will their policies, no doubt. Which is what we're kind of seeing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Black Death of the 1600s, in our opinion, is these people doing what they do, removing witnesses and populations that were witnesses to the events that they're going to struggle to explain unless you start factoring this technology. Your thoughts, Jim?
There we go.
Oops, we lost him again.
Yeah, part of what they did, I think, was I don't know. Again, there are good angels, bad angels. Some people were put into so-called what do they call it when you put thousands of people in an asylum? Not asylums, but for tuberculosis and other stuff. You have
yeah.
where thousands of people died in these buildings, and they were just dumped basically in the sewer systems and stuff down in the pipes. And then you had the children who were always sent to either boarding schools or to orphanages. I mean, and then there were the mental asylums for the rest of the population.
And in some countries, Jim, like France, you've got the catacombs where obviously they ran out of asylums, so they just put the skulls down below.
There's millions in the catacombs in France alone.
They probably reset survivors or people before the last reset that they got rid of.
I think a lot of them fed the gargantuan and other giants at the time. They didn't eat the bones. Like we don't eat all our chicken bones or nothing, The bones pile up. But there's no way that they were all buried on the surface, and then there was like a lot of water and it stunk and people were dying, so they had to dig them all up and then move them underground. Remove all the flesh from them. No, it's too many things wrong with the catacombs and their stories about them and how they were filled or populated. It's like here, we have mass graves in Canada we still have to investigate, Forget the ones that are found, there's lots more that, apple orchards, whatever. Just thousands more people buried there. Mostly native. What can you do? But yeah, California, it was an island at one point in the 1500s. Something fell down there, and well, it's not an island no more.
Yeah, I've heard that my whole life. Like, seriously, California's just going to fall off into the ocean.
No.
So.
Well, all of that science that no one can validate, plate tectonics and all this nonsense, just don't actually add up if the physics are that, something softer doesn't push into something harder, That don't happen. But that's what you got to believe. If you're going to believe in plate tectonics, subduction, and all these things, there's no way. Well, those are interesting snowballs.
Yeah, MM12. The elites will always be in control. Like, I'm pretty sure that they know these cycles more than what we can guess upon. And they know where the land is that they want to take. So after the next reset, they're going to come back out. They're going to know what land to take. If people are already there for, whether they survived or whatever, then they're just going to rage war on them and destroy everything until they can take that land back.
Well, the CIA will be at the head of like the USGS and other departments and stuff, and just like the KGB and others will be in charge of, kind of that northern land claim after the reset, And they'll be there to plant their flags, create more chaos, and be there as the heroes to help everything work out.
Yeah. What's after this realm? I don't know.
Hopefully something better and no river Styx and a pyramid to pay.
Well, what's after this realm probably depends on how far this information goes, and can it change anything when you think about it.
There are cultures that teach that, all of this, what we experience, is energy traveling at less than the speed of light. And that when you die, you become what you were before you were born. It's almost like reincarnation, but a modified reincarnation. I know we're light. We're born of light and go back to light, So.
Yeah, certainly is. Right, I think we'll call it a day, guys, shall we?
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
And
it's been going a while, and I'm starving.
I'm getting hungry myself. That's about 3.5 hours almost, I think, there.
Yeah, it was great. It was fun.
Pretty close.
We're well known for doing long streams in the old days, weren't we? But at least this time we stayed on target, didn't we? We used to get sidetracked a bit in the old days. So we're going to hear you guys. I'll play us out with this song by Buster that we used in our 144,000 video, and that video is a must watch, and you should share that everywhere if you can. So we'll say goodbye, everyone, and play out with this. So goodbye, you guys on the panel, and goodbye, all you chatters.
Good.
Bye.
Bye.
Come go with me. Open your mind. A skeptical mind was all I ever knew. Finding the knowledge of the real world starts with the point of which has no parts. These are the axioms of life. I take my chances with the old ways, finding the proofs in geometry. And I don't care what all the sophists say, I find the proofs in reality. They were right, we know that they were right. Starting circles and lines alone, constructing the nature of what's known. Conclusions are clear and the evidence seen. This 3D space works perfectly. And I take my chances with the old ways, finding the proofs in geometry. I don't care what all the sophists say, I find the proofs in reality. When all around you is sinking sand, you have a place on which to stand. Foundations were already built for you, so open your mind. I'll take my chances with the old ways, hearing the words of what the ancients said. They say my words sound like sorcery, but there's wisdom in all honesty. Come go with me, open your mind. Come go with me, we'll find the truth.
Thank you all, and good night.